Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with...
Sean.
And Lee.
And that's it.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan has worn himself out doing a 40-mile training ride, riding up hills in torrential rain.
Crazy.
And Chris, unfortunately, is otherwise occupied tonight. But I think we can say get well soon, Dan.
Absolutely.
Because he's trying to do some kind of self-harm by doing this 100-mile bike ride.
Because he went over the second biggest hill on the island in the rain.
Yeah.
Is that the first biggest hill? It's being a mountain.
Well, yeah. I think it is a mountain,
Technically, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think he wanted to go up the first biggest hill because...
I don't think you can legally at the moment.
no, cyclists are banned because the first biggest hill's on the TT course.
Yeah.
And the road's one way, and cyclists aren't allowed. So we're just waiting for the first cyclist to be arrested for riding the wrong way up it. It will happen.
Yeah.
But talking of closed roads, it was Monaco this weekend.
Road racing all round.
See what I did there? Not a dull, drab procession.
It was all right, wasn't it?
It was a bit procession-y, but it was tense.
There was a lot to... I don't think I can keep this podcast going till the end. I think I've started this race review on the wrong strategy. I'll try, but on your own, be it.
I think he does it for other people listening.
I think he's playing to the camera a little bit.
I think he's playing to the camera, and I think he's playing to the other drivers.
Yeah, trying to wind Verstappen up, or Red Bull rather. But
because if he by saying things like that, maybe it makes Max leave it an extra couple of laps before actually having a go at him. Because if he thinks he's going to pit anyway, or there's a chance he's going to pit, then why would you risk a move?
Oh, it's
Verstappen though, isn't it? He'd have probably gone for it either way. I don't think he'd care for something like that.
New Verstappen's a careful boy.
Well, you heard the message, the radio message to Verstappen about what to do about Hamilton.
Yes,
and you can wait till he pits, or if he needs to pit again, or you can overtake him and drive off into the distance. Be careful.
Yeah.
Verstappen's race engineer is a comedy genius. He constantly comes out with great shit like that.
Kimmy was a comedy genius again this weekend.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
No, I heard the 300's just a number.
No, Stroll during practice blocked him, and he's what was it? He said, "Have you been blocked?" Yeah, by one of those Force Indias, or whatever the fuck they're called these days.
Yes. I'll tell you what, Lance Stroll is not making many friends at the minute with blocking people, because I mean Max had a real go about him in Spain, and kind of got his own back. What the whole "he's a dick" speech.
He was asleep when Kimmy was it.
He banged wheels with Kimmy at one point.
Who did Grosjean nearly go into the back of?
Gasly.
Oh, Gasly wasn't. That's where he got his penalty.
That was some classic team radio.
He was genuinely terrified by that. So coming around a corner and seeing a car parked in the middle of the road.
There was that many beeps on it. I actually thought that Grosjean was talking in Morse code. I mean, Monaco's not the easiest track to get past on by a long way.
No.
But when you're making dick moves like some of the ones this weekend, I mean, two penalties for blocking in qualifying.
I mean, it's a short track, so you're always going to struggle to find track space.
And don't forget, you never used to have the penalties, do you? Did you, for blocking and qualifying like that? So.
No, I mean, Charlie Whiting used to give slaps on the wrist and say, "Don't do it again." But it looks like regulations all round have been tightened up, and it's now the letter of the law to the extreme.
Maybe. I mean, the penalties that were handed out during the race were quite lenient.
The Verstappen one definitely was. I'm sure we'll get onto that more later. But
yeah, I did say my Twitter exploded when he only got 5 seconds.
I think it was fair. I think it was okay.
It's always a strange one, unsafe release, isn't it? Because you're punishing the driver, but it's not really their fault.
It's also not really. It's no one's fault because Monaco's got such a strange pit lane as well. So there's no room to go side by side.
I mean, the wording on the penalty was Verstappen was released while a car was in the clear boxes. Yeah, but the pit lane's that tight normally.
And with Vettel being in as well, I think it was just so busy you couldn't really see.
And then Verstappen cut into the fast lane ahead of a car that he was released unsafely in front of. But there isn't.
Well, there's no slow
There's
lane.
no slow lane.
Yeah, yeah.
The slow lane is the garages,
And
basically.
they're racing as well. You know, there's got to be some leeway for just competing.
You've got to think as well, given how difficult it is to overtake in Monaco, track position, you might still bet on yourself to make up 5 seconds if that's what the penalty is. If you're
absolutely.
ahead on the road, it didn't happen.
If given what happened to tires in the end, if he'd have managed to get Hamilton at some point, you know, he might have won the race.
But I mean, the whole thing with Verstappen's penalty, he did squeeze Bottas into the wall, because if you look, the debris came off the right side of the car.
Yep.
When he clipped the wall, he didn't leave him enough room when he cut in front of him.
No, but to be fair, he had people on his left-hand side.
Yeah,
True.
it's probably better to hit a car
Yeah,
in a
yes.
driver that's very protected than a mechanic.
It's always that way, isn't it? If you've got like a cyclist or something, if you're just driving a road car, you will generally tend to go further towards the car, you know, the other side of the road than the fleshy bit on the left.
You say that. I know a lot of drivers that don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
You should go quite a chunk
And
away.
having done a lot of cycling in my time, I've had a lot of hospital visits because of drivers that don't do that. Especially the time that ended up in the back of a trailer that was attached to a Land Rover that didn't see me and turned a corner in front of me.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was terrifying.
Jesus.
I ended up with a police caution as well for riding without due care and attention.
No way.
Yes.
Fuck bikes. Fuck riding them. Fuck driving past them. Fuck them.
Funnily enough, that was on my last ever training ride.
Was it?
Yes. I'm sat in the back of a Land Rover back of a Land Rover trailer that's gradually pulling to a halt, and I'm thinking, this isn't worth it anymore.
On this day, Paul stopped riding bikes and went and bought World of Warcraft.
No, went and bought beer. That's the day that I discovered that sitting down beer and fried food was better than 50-mile training rides.
Whoops.
Are you listening, Dan? Shall we go team by team then?
Why
Go
not?
Right, we will start at the back with Alfa Romeo.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shocking.
What the hell?
What happened? What happened with Giovinazzi? Was he just being Giovinazzi?
I think he ran wide on the first lap and fell behind Kubica and then just got frustrated, tried to force the move and made a mess.
Right, okay.
Is how I saw it.
Yeah, I think his car was down on speed, so I think he'd actually done some damage to the actual car when he ran wide.
Of course it was down on speed. He was driving it.
No, we're talking about Giovinazzi first, not Kubica,
Ah, well.
because he was lapping for the majority of the race. He was lapping slower than both Williams,
Yeah.
and that's completely unexpected. But I think Alfa just didn't know what to do this week, because with Kimi in 17th as well, there was no pace in that car whatsoever.
No.
And there was just no challenge.
Well, this is what I find really weird this year. It's the midfield's so tight that it's. I mean, obviously Williams beat somebody this weekend, but or a couple of people, but it's like usually you just think of Williams as being the staple back markers. Who could be like the first two cars in front of them? Could be anyone from McLaren to Renault. Yeah, it's so weird.
The minor variation from each track is having a huge impact on the actual order of the field, which is exciting.
And yeah, this week it was Alfa's turn to be we thought they were going to be the second slowest team, but as it turned out, the slowest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't know where they got it wrong. I mean, you don't often see Kimi struggling to get something out of a car.
Certainly not the Alfa, because since the Ferrari pressure has been taken off him, he's been. Mind you, saying that, Kimi's never been great around Monaco.
He's not been great, but he's never been that bad.
No, but he's always been in a top running car.
True.
So he's ended up being mediocre around Monaco. So being in a sort of midfield car, maybe it's just it's not his track.
Possibly.
He's never won, has he? He's never won
I
Monaco,
think
has
he
he?
might have won it once.
Has he?
I will talk amongst
Did he
yourselves.
win it
I'll
for
double check
McLaren?
this. I want to say he possibly did win it with
Maybe.
McLaren, but I will double check.
While you're checking,
Yeah, talk amongst yourselves.
yeah.
all two
While
of
you're
you.
checking, we'll move up to Williams. Kubica in 18th, not last for the first time this season.
No, did you hear the pit communication with them?
No.
The Kubica one where it was kicking off.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spoilers for like when we moved up a little bit. When Hamilton was driving as slowly as he possibly could, in free air, George Russell was the quickest man on the track. And Kubica was also in free air, and they radioed Kubica saying, George is now lapping now the fastest man on the track. We can push on these tyres. To which Kubica replied, yeah, I know. I basically said, I know what I'm doing.
Oh, this is a different bit to the one I've heard about.
Oh.
This under the safety car. Russell got pitted and Kubica didn't, even though Russell was first. Kubica was ahead at that point. That was before the tangling with Giovinazzi.
Right.
So yeah, Kubica kicked off basically because he thought since he had track position, he should have got first call on the pits, but they brought in Russell. Kimi Raikkonen, by the way, 2005 Monaco Grand Prix with McLaren.
All right. Okay. Cool.
So it has been a while. I mean, everyone expected Kubica to really struggle at Monaco, but
he was behind what we think was an ailing Giovinazzi.
Yeah, it doesn't help as well when you do get a Giovinazzi in the back end.
yeah,
It doesn't really help your day.
But George Russell being quickest on track, finishing 15th,
And genuinely caught that train, didn't he?
Yeah.
Legitimately catching and being faster than a Racing Point.
Yeah.
And
When you look at the car he's got, regardless of it being Stroll that's in that car, it's an impressive drive. That's probably, unless something dramatic happens to that car and you get like a Hungary or something where a driver can make the difference, that's probably going to be the most impressive drive he has all year. 200-1 it was for him to score a point.
Wow. One more decent crash and he'd have not been all that far off.
5 more.
Well, no, you can lose 3 cars in a crash, easy.
Yeah, but he had a train of 5 cars in front of him.
If they all go into
taken
each
each other
other.
out.
Yeah.
All it takes is one mistake at Raskas, and we saw that.
I'd argue that he was low-key contender for driver of the day doing that,
He seemed to just have a very quiet, not involved in anything, keeping out of all the skirmishes, just kept the car on the track, got it round.
Yeah.
But yeah, catching that long train towards the end, and he was actually a genuine contender matching the pace of the cars in front of him.
See, I mean,
I know Monaco's a great leveler,
and who was it? Who was slowing it down because
Was it Raikkonen? Was that
it
before
Raikkonen?
he pitted? Was that when he was on his
yeah,
tyres?
it was Raikkonen on dead tyres.
Because he was lapping faster than Hamilton, but Bottas wasn't in the queue, was he? There was a reasonable gap between him and Gasly, and then there was a massive gap between him and between Gasly and everybody else.
Yeah, that's because Gasly had a late pit stop, didn't he, to get the fast lap?
I've decided over the course of the season we're going to find that the fast lap point gets renamed the Gasly point.
It's going to be the driver in 4th or 5th or
Which
6th
is gonna
most
be
times,
Gasly.
isn't it?
Yeah. Can't catch the guy in front.
Yeah.
40 seconds ahead of the guy behind.
Come in,
What
new
the
tyres.
hell? I've got a spare set.
Yeah, he's going to end up with like an extra 10 points over the course of the year.
Well, that was his second fast lap of the season out of 6.
Yeah.
So he's definitely working on it. Racing Point next. Stroll in 16th, and now here's another driver that's always been crap at Monaco.
Oh.
And I've given up counting now on how many races it is since he last made it into Q2.
I think, did we decide it was 11? I think we decided it was 11.
Who's this?
Stroll.
Yeah, well, it's weird though, isn't it? Because it's the other street circuits he goes quite well
Yeah,
at.
Azerbaijan he goes really well at.
Yeah, but you only make 90-degree turns in Azerbaijan, and then you
That's
press
true.
the accelerator. In Monaco, you make various small turns, sometimes big turns, press the accelerator. Oh, hang on, no, lift off, it's a corner.
We'll see if he's made any improvements in Canada, because he generally goes quite well in Canada, doesn't he?
Well, last year he went into the wall courtesy of Hartley, I seem to recall.
But he qualified well, though, didn't he?
Think so.
He qualified well, and
He got his first point there, didn't he? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago he scored his first point. But we're going back to your home fans always the worth an extra couple of tenths.
Unless you're Leclerc.
Yes,
But what's going on with that Racing Point Force India
They were doing a bit in the paddock this week with Sky when they were like, "Oh, and look at their lovely new hospitality suite." And it's like, is that really the highest priority for them right now?
Well, they've got a whole new car coming, haven't they?
Yeah.
For
but they've
Germany.
also. It's like, what are you doing with your money? Invest it. Get the car right first. You can feed people in any shed.
Have they basically done all they can? Because I mean, this current car is B spec, last year's car.
Yeah.
And last year's car was massively underfunded because Force India didn't have any money.
Well, there's probably been no development went into this year's car until after all the the dots were eyed.
Yeah, which would have been sort of September-ish, wasn't it? Which normally kind of June is.
It fully exists in computer form by then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if the work didn't start, I mean, if they're bringing out, I think we really should call it the 2019 spec car for Germany.
Yeah, probably,
because I mean this is 2018 and a half, and I think we'll see the usual what Force India have done again this year, which is jump up after the summer break.
Well, I mean, hopefully if they've actually got some money to put into it as well, you'd hope that it will be a substantial jump forward, but I don't know. This with having
you can throw all the money at it that you want, but if you haven't actually got the time to develop the full concept,
that's what I mean. With it being late, like the new car that comes, if we're saying they're like X amount behind in the car, Germany is probably about the right time that they wanted Australia to be.
Yeah.
But is then the more sensible answer just to go, well, we're that far behind now with the car. If we keep developing this year's car, we're going to be late with next year's car.
Not with static rules, because it's pretty much static into next year, isn't it? With the 2021 rules.
This is true.
Yeah, I think 2020 cars are going to be
very similar, so they might as well learn what they can. Fair enough.
So it's giving them a disadvantage, but the new project that's coming out from them for Germany will have all the right slots to fit the 2020 parts in, as everyone's car on the grid has got at the moment. They're not saying it, but they are designing a car everyone's driving a car that's going to be around for 2 years.
Yeah, I think you're probably bang on there. Especially Mercedes, they seem to have such like good performance. I can't see them doing anything else. Ferrari aren't gonna wreck a chance of like bouncing back properly in 2021 to have a go in 2020. I wouldn't have thought.
No, they've got plenty of other opportunities to wreck the chances.
I know, yeah. So
creating new ways every race.
There's so many seconds in an hour.
Let's put the wheels on sideways. See if that improves drag. But yeah, the total non-weekend really. Perez wasn't.
Well, Perez had the shitting the pants incident with the marshals, didn't he?
Yeah,
well?
That was terrifying.
That was one hell of a reaction from him.
And that's not the first time in the weekend that we'd seen like a kind of weird incident with marshals, because there was a thing in the F2 race, wasn't there, where they're trying to push a car out of the chicane as cars are still tunning it down. So what is going on?
I noticed when they were trying to get rid of some of the debris on the track during the safety car, and just after the swimming pool chicane, they were all a bit squirrely on that big long straight as well. And then with it being blind there, one guy kept running out into the middle of the road to see if the cars were coming down. And he thought, well, fuck, if those cars happen to come at the time when you're at the barrier and then you run into the middle of the road, that car's going to come at you pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even under a virtual safety car,
they're still going to be going over 100 mile an hour.
Yeah. It looks slow.
Yeah.
Because of the speed that you're used to seeing the cars at. But in real life, it isn't.
Well, you've got to think of it when pit lane is 60 mile an hour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going quicker when they're under safety car situation than they are in the pit lane. So it's 60 mile an hour is not slow. You don't want to get hit by a car at 60 miles an hour.
No.
Reminds me of that Top Gear story. James May was testing the Koenigsegg on.
Oh, I remember this one.
The test track that's that long, they actually had to fit the curvature of the Earth into it.
You can't see the end of it, can you?
Yeah.
Because it's perfectly flat, so it curves with.
It actually goes over the
Where's
horizon.
that?
It's somewhere in Germany.
I think it's. Do Volkswagen own it?
I think they do.
That's crazy.
So he'd just been doing sort of drag runs up and down and hitting the top speed, which in a Koenigsegg is something like about 260, 270 miles an hour.
I remember this now. Yeah,
And he was coming into the pits, and he thought he was going really slowly, and he was going to jump out of the car while it was still moving.
Yeah.
As it was slowing up, and he undid his harness. And he had his hand on the door handle and thought, right, I'll just check how slow I'm going because I could jump out here. And he was doing 70.
Shit, it's just because
And
he's used to going
Yeah,
that
your
fast.
brain catches up.
Because he'd been maxing it out at 250 miles an hour. He thought he was doing about 5, and he was doing 70.
Yeah. Crazy.
So that is why the safety car and virtual safety cars look bloody slow. But if you think about it, a bloody Mercedes SLS at full speed,
Yeah.
you're sat in there. That's not going to feel slow.
Well, no, that's it. He's that guy's driving that car on the limit to try and keep the temperature up in the Formula One tires.
Yeah. This is why I always vote for Burt Mylander as driver of the day.
It doesn't matter how fast he goes, Lewis always bitches about it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Lewis always bitches. That's
unfair.
is it?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Lewis is a complaining driver.
Were you listening to the same race as us on Sunday?
He was leading the Monaco Grand Prix.
But he was still complaining. He complains constantly. But like you say, that could be the mind games.
I also think it's creative editing. I think there was probably loads of chatter up and down the grid.
There was one bit in F2 last year, wasn't there, where George Russell complained that on the TV screens around the racetrack, he could only see his own radio messages getting played. I was like, why are they only playing my messages? And of course, they played that message.
What have we got next? Oh, Haas. K-Mag. Wheelbanger.
Yes. Yeah. Perez, was it he tangled with?
I think it was, yeah. That's 2 races on the trot. He's sideswiped someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, surprisingly, I was very surprised when he got his penalty for that one. He got a penalty point. His only penalty point.
Has his bribe run out?
I just assumed he would be one of the ones that's, 2 crashes away from a ban, but
Somebody snuck in and stole the pictures that he had of Chase Carey.
possibly.
I've got the ones where he's shaved. Yeah, I'm beginning to come to agree with you about Haas have got a great car. They've just got a pair of complete turds behind the wheel.
Yeah,
We've always thought Grosjean is.
Yeah, I mean, he got himself a point.
Grosjean had a good race aside from the incident with the pit lane line.
Yeah, Grosjean should have got himself 2 points.
Yeah.
But he just made a very stupid schoolboy error.
Yeah, I think there was a few people at Hulkenberg as well that they just didn't win from the safety car.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody, including Lewis Hamilton, although he still managed to win the race. Everyone that pitted under the safety car seemed to have a bad time of it.
Yeah.
Just trying to find the story now. But K-Mag actually said he wanted his engine to blow up.
Which is not a good idea because that was a new engine.
Well, because he was bored of driving so slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just pull over, Kevin. You don't need to be on fire.
I think there might be just a sprinkle of sarcasm in that one.
Yeah, he said he was so frustrated with his disappointing Monaco Grand Prix that he hoped the engine would blow up.
Well,
but it wasn't Haas's fault. Well, no, because it's a Ferrari engine.
I think his quali lap was low key the best quali lap of the fucking of the weekend. That was a stunning lap to put him 5th. Did you see the onboard with him?
I did not.
It was near a perfect lap of Monaco.
Cool. He does generally qualify very well. He's just one of these. He can very quickly in a race end up in the arse end of nowhere.
He is one of those drivers that I think would really benefit from a driver coach or sports psychologist. I think it's. I mean, Grosjean says it quite a lot. I mean, the funny thing is, Grosjean says that, and I can't see it actually doing him any good. But he's got a sports psychologist and a driver coach, doesn't he? But again, it doesn't seem to be doing him a lot of good. But he often says, "I don't understand why other sports have like coaches and stuff, and Formula One they don't, because there's a bit of an." I think Jenson Button was asked about it by Anthony Davidson. And he said, yeah, but it's really weird when another driver tries to tell you how to drive, and there's always that little bit in the back of your mind which goes, yeah, well, I'm a Formula 1 driver and you're not.
I mean, Grosjean's got the natural arrogance thinking that he's the best in the business anyway.
French, you mean?
Well, he still thinks he should be in a Ferrari. But yeah, K-Mag was dull. Grosjean did a good job holding Leclerc up early on.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it gave Charles Leclerc a good chance to see what the back end of his own car looks like, looking at the back end of a Haas.
Charles Leclerc came across as being awfully average this weekend, you know.
I think he's...
Oh, sorry, not average, but impetulant.
Felt the pressure of the home crowd.
I think his head went after Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a bit. But
Yes.
Grosjean, I mean, a fairly decent race. He was doing well to keep Ricciardo behind him, and losing a point for a daft mistake.
Yeah.
And Monaco, they are so tight on the pit lane line rules. Just because you cross that line and you are in with a damn good chance of being hit if somebody gets the first corner wrong. You know, that one's there for a reason. I don't want to come overall health and safety about this.
No, but there's rules control the fun.
It's not like it's his first time in Monaco either. I'm sure
No.
by now he knows how to exit the pit lane.
Also,
ironically, if somebody's going to get the first corner wrong and plow into a car that's coming out the pits, it would be him.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen like turn one accidents before, and it can be a plane crash turn one if you get a big crash there.
Yeah. What is it? The Johnny Cecotto 18 car pileup in GP2.
No, but even just a couple of cars, you can have a really high speed accident. Was it a Red Bull or a Toro Rosso had a really biggie?
I think, was it Verstappen a couple of years ago?
Might have been
Verstappen went into the back
yeah.
of Grosjean and they both went into the barrier.
That's it. And Verstappen was buried in the tyres.
He went into the barrier right up to the cockpit.
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Title of your sex tape. Renault next. First of the binary teams. Ricciardo finally scores points with the surrealist helmet, and Hulk.
I think his helmet's cool as fuck. You know, I think it is genuinely cool.
I still look at it and go, Damon Hill's Brabham.
No, I look at it and think Nickelodeon cartoon
I think it
intro.
It looks like cake. It looks like someone's been a bit too crazy with the icing.
Do you remember the...
Anyone does baking out there fancies having a go at making a Danny Rick
Ricciardo
helmet cake and sending us photos.
Or cake. Send us cake.
Do you remember the backing, the background for the text in the Rugrats?
Yes.
Yeah.
Looks like that.
I can see that.
Yeah, now you mention it that way. I was always a Rocco's Modern Life fan.
Yeah, like a bit of Rocco. Either way, it's like gnarly and mega.
And Lee's just off to go play with some Pogs and drink Crystal Pepsi.
I was fucking brilliant at Pogs. I was so good. The collection I had was rivaled by nobody in the school. Didn't even buy a lot either. Won them all.
Did you have all like the rare ones,
all
the shiny ones?
Yeah. I'd had a couple of slammers as well. I had a couple of reserve ones and one I really liked. Could have gone pro. If there was such
Major
a thing.
League Pogs.
I am so glad I was in my 20s at the time and missed all that. Tazos on the other hand, because you got those free bags of crisps.
Yeah, I
that
enjoyed
rings
the
a bell.
Tazo. Enjoyed the Tazo.
Back to Renault, though.
Yeah. Away from pro sport.
Hey, don't I inadvertently was watching college lacrosse at the weekend.
Oof.
Yeah, Hulk was anonymous this weekend.
Yeah, but he was another one that's done over by the safety car, I think, wasn't he?
He was like the first to pit, I think, because he came in before the safety car came out, anticipating it.
Yeah.
And
which is a real shame, because when he was the first in, I thought, this is it.
Yeah,
this
so did I.
Could be
I
his
thought
podium.
exactly the same.
And because usually if you hit like a safety car perfectly like that, you're almost guaranteed by the time everything shakes out to come out in the lead.
Yeah, I thought
until
exactly the same thing.
Is he starting to? I hate to use the term, but is he the new Heidfeld?
Well, we've thought this for a while anyway.
Yeah,
Has he not taken Heidfeld's record?
Yeah,
of
you've said the
shitness?
German Jensen Button. I'm going for the other German Nick Heidfeld.
I'd agree with you for the fact that he wasn't going up so favourably against Daniel Ricciardo. as soon as Ricciardo puts him in the shade, then yeah, he's the new Heidfeld. But as long as he can keep up with him, then no.
I don't think I've seen anything about damage for Hulk, but he did get a bit of a Ferrari in the side, did he
I
not?
think he was just stuck in that situation where he couldn't get fucking past anybody.
Yeah. And he was in the Kimi train at one point, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He got
he-
stuck in that pile.
Stuck behind that, and Renault keeps saying that they've made improvements, and we'll see whether they have or not in Canada, because you can't really tell anyone's improvements in Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think Danny should have been best of the rest. If it wasn't for the way things shook out for him, I think he could have been like behind the Red Bull.
I mean, he qualified better than he finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, stuck in traffic.
Yeah, he had decent race pace when he was free, and he is a bit of a Monaco specialist.
Well, Poland win there last year.
Yeah,
Denied a win 2 years ago.
yeah,
And yeah, it's another bad week for Renault, and it was circumstances not in their control.
yeah. It's one of the reasons I still think Daniel Ricciardo is if things work out right for him, he might be the new Jenson Button. Really, that just has to hang around until eventually the good car comes to him.
Well, Renault keep claiming they're going to have it at some point.
Yeah, I
not
mean,
this year. They're
no,
not having it this year.
I wonder whether Heidfeld is too old for Renault to sort themselves out.
You mean Hulk? You've started
Sorry,
calling
yeah.
You've even started calling him
has
High
become-
now.
It's done, innit? He's gone. Because how old's Hulk?
Hulk's 34,
30.
33, 34.
Oh, he's younger than I thought he was. Because is Ricciardo about 30?
29, I think he's
Oh, he's
just
still in
about
his
to be
20s.
30.
I mean, don't
He's
forget
30,
with-
or he might have just turned 30. He's
Don't
in that
forget
neck
with
of the
Hulk,
woods.
he's been around bloody years.
Yes, yeah.
You know, he was
50, not 15 years,
not
surely.
not
no.
that long, but it's
10 years, maybe.
good 10 years. I mean, he was he got a pole in a Williams when Williams were able to get pole.
Yeah.
In fact, he's the last Williams driver to get pole without getting a penalty.
Brazil? Was it Brazil?
It was Brazil he
Yeah.
got his random pole.
Oh,
yeah.
it was, but he was the only one on slick tyres, wasn't he, on a on a drying track?
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Nico Hulkenberg is 31.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
So he's the same sort of age as Ricciardo?
Ricardo will be 30 in July.
Oh, wow.
Hulkenberg will be 32 in August.
I took it for granted that Hulkenberg was like sort of mid-30s. Oh, well, he's still got time then.
I mean, don't forget he won Le Mans, and Le Mans is usually won by older drivers.
Yes,
Did you know?
true.
You know that he won Le Mans.
On his
Single-handedly.
own. Yeah. no car. Did it on a bike. Push bike.
Did he do it in the back of a trailer of a Land Rover? Though? That's the question. So yeah, I mean, he's been around for years, and he's still got a good few years left in him.
Yeah, definitely.
And if Renault do what they have been threatening to do,
I just worry that there won't be a Renault in 2021. That's what I worry for both of those guys.
Renault are the only team signed up to F1 beyond 2020.
Well, so James Allen says, we were reading before, but James Allen says it.
He can be a bit of a hit and miss, can't he?
You really don't like James Allen, do you?
I started the Facebook group, which took off as well, I might add. 2009 is going to be a brilliant year in F1. Let's make it a James Allen free zone.
He is one of those, if I see something that he's saying and it's not quoted somewhere else, I do kind of
Yeah,
mark it with a little question
He's
mark.
the Daily Mail of Formula One journalists.
Not to drop names again, but the guy doing the coffee at the Mercedes launch wasn't a fan of his because he got to the bar to get a coffee before me, and the guy serving asked me first, so he'd obviously had a run-in with him.
He's obviously said something coffee guy didn't like.
Yeah, the guy let me queue jump in front of James Allen. It's like, really? And this is Silverstone? Bloody hell.
I'm surprised you could fucking ask for anything with considering how hard he sucks on Lewis Hamilton most of the time.
Right, McLaren next. Lando criticism time again.
Think?
Lost another 2 places at the start.
But he was thrown under the bus for Sainz, though, wasn't he?
He was, but that's because of his start.
Oh yeah,
He's
start.
now lost 19 places.
Yeah, he needs to sort it out
before turn 1 this season.
Yeah, he needs to sort it out.
The car's quick. We do know this.
Yep.
And because of Lando's bad start and bad track position, it let him concentrate on Sainz, who didn't actually know that the car was going to be as fast as it was.
Yeah, but Sainz always does this. This is a bit of a Sainz criticism. He constantly complains about the car before he's even got into the race. Have you noticed that?
He's getting his excuses in
Yeah,
early.
yeah, it's really weird, and he's constantly. It seems like he's worried about it, and I don't understand. I don't know whether it's like a mental thing that where like expect the worst and then you're pleasantly surprised at the end.
Spanish.
But it doesn't seem like the fucking mindset for a sportsman, does it?
Mind games, maybe?
Maybe.
I mean, it could be mind games. It could just be get all that out of the way and then concentrate on the job in hand.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, whichever way, it's fantastic to see a McLaren getting more top tens.
The only thing we should remember, because I know Lando's had two really poor starts that were his own fault, but another two of those is when he's been collected by another driver.
He had the one, didn't he, where he was punted and all four wheels off the track.
So I think there was another one of those as well, wasn't there? I think.
Possibly.
I think he's had a couple of early knocks, but it's still. But there's still been. But he's still had bad starts. He's put himself in a position where he's having to fight back.
Yeah, but the two that he was collected by somebody, not to be on the fucking defence for Orlando, but the two which he's been collected by somewhere, he was collected by them because he had a really good start and made up positions.
Do you reckon he's overcorrected then? He's thinking, do you know what, I'm just going to go a bit calmer,
maybe,
stay away from the crash.
It does seem to be since he got took out, well, both McLarens got took out by Kvyat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That seems to be when his starts have got worse since then.
Almost like he's lost a little bit of edge.
Maybe.
Sainz's start was really good. He tweeted some of the onboard footage from it, and he just drove around the outside of everyone.
Was it
It was ace.
Masney,
the curve to the left.
Yeah. That was fucking stunning when he ran the outside.
Just got on the outside, foot down, past everyone.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone go around the outside there. Not like he did at that point. So that's where Alonso went into the wall, wasn't it? He got offline, got on some marbles, and then gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's barely any room for error on that circuit anyway.
Yeah.
Some corners are just too tight to do anything with.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sainz, I think he is rightfully where he is place wise.
What, behind best of the rest in the championship?
Yeah,
I think you're probably right.
Because he's been consistent, and we've said this about him since he started in Toro Rosso, that he just gets on with it, does it, and all of a sudden he's getting a better result than you think he's going to be capable of.
I think he's almost a bit reborn, isn't he, going to McLaren?
I think the whole Red Bull, Toro Rosso, Renault situation, it can't have been easy because he was at Renault on loan.
Yeah.
And then finding out that he's not going to have a job for the following year because somebody else who was owned by the team that owned you is replacing him.
Well, I was just going to say, not having essentially being the bridesmaid of that whole
he was
deal.
nearly Ocon, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Really?
But he was the bridesmaid in that whole deal because he was like McLaren's second choice and Renault's second choice if Ricciardo went to McLaren.
Yeah.
So for him to be the bridesmaid and it to work out in the end because the McLaren looks like a better car than the Renault, that must be a bit of a boost for him.
I mean, this is the first season that he's not had Helmut Marko hanging over his head.
Yeah.
Because even at Renault, he was still owned by Red Bull.
Red Bull fucked it there because he would be a much better guy to have in the Red Bull right now.
And they could have done that.
Yeah.
They could have had him instead of Gasly, but...
Yeah, it was a strange thing.
I think that might have been a little bit of politics because when obviously Sainz and Verstappen didn't always get on so well when they were the Toro Rosso teammates, so...
Well, what was it? 3 races in, and they were blocking each other and refusing to follow team orders and let the other one through, and that's when we first noticed the sweary Verstappen.
Yeah,
yes.
And having them in the same team now, with it being the big boy team with a lot more at stake, I don't think. I know they're both older and more mature than before.
And don't forget, Red Bull have got a much better handle on handling 2 drivers as well.
Well, at the moment, they're only having to handle one and tell the other one, put your bloody foot down.
Yeah, but I mean, when you've had the Webber-Vettel situation, you've had Vettel, Webber, Vettel, Webber, Mark, and
Vettel, Ricciardo.
Yeah, get me Aussies mixed up. So it's. I think there'd have been. I think Horner could have handled that situation.
Even Ricardo Verstappen last year with Baku.
Gasly's hemorrhaging them points.
He's getting there, I think. He's now solidly coming in as the last of the front runners, but he is at least now in the front runners.
Yeah, but again, he'd have been sixth if Leclerc hadn't have fucked himself.
Which is the last of the front runners.
Yeah, but when your teammate is outperforming the car fighting for a win, and I still think if Ricciardo was in that car, Ricciardo would have been behind, or probably in Monaco, to be perfectly honest, in front of Verstappen. I'd argue that, given how good Ricciardo is, he might have won that race.
Very possible. He might have made a better job of the overtake on Hamilton, but
we'll get to that in a bit. It's Toro Rosso next. Another double points finish.
Surprisingly late in the order.
Yeah, 7th and 8th. Albon, he's the new Sainz.
I think he's the best. I mean, we can't really tell what Russell's capable of being in the Williams, but results-wise, you've got to look at him as being the best rookie so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's outperforming Lando. Just because he can get the car into a better place.
I've started supporting Lando, so realistically, he might as well retire now.
You've given him the shunt curse.
Yeah.
But yeah, Albon is he's doing a bloody good job.
Because he hadn't even tested, had he? Like before pre-season, he'd never really driven an F1 car properly.
I think he had.
I think he might have done a filming day or something, but
yeah,
he'd never done like an in-season test.
I think he'd driven an old car in his first stint with Red Bull.
Yeah.
Before they brought him back in, but he's bloody taken to it.
Well, I'm sorry for this joke. I'm going to apologise for it. Even though he's doing a good job, I do have a caveat to this situation.
Oh man.
As good as Kvyat 2.0 is, come on, that is quite good. But as good as Kvyat 2.0 is, do we really look at him as being like a potential top team driver?
They did say 7th is Kvyat's highest ever finish as a Toro Rosso driver.
Wow.
So he is better than he has ever been in Toro Rosso. Because the bar was set so high.
But for Albon to really get himself in contention for things, he's got to get on top of Kvyat, hasn't he, before the end of the year?
Yeah. And I still don't think that Kvyat is going to be in Big Boy Red Bull again.
I think he might be, because I think Red Bull are wasting, unless Gasly can really click into gear. And what I really find with Gasly is when you see him in interviews and stuff, and he spoke to on the grid, he doesn't look like a guy that's going to get on top of it.
He always has a slightly sort of rabbit in the headlights vibe. I find him. He's always a bit like, "Oh shit, you want to talk to me?"
It's a bit like Grosjean in that respect. Grosjean, regardless of what he's saying, he always looks like he's not quite in control of the situation. So unless he's in the kitchen, obviously.
Yeah, boss in the kitchen.
I don't know. I mean, there's 4 drivers pushing now for the seat in Red Bull that isn't Verstappen's. You've got Kvyat, Albon, Dan Ticktum, and now they've got Pato O'Ward.
And he's got designs of coming straight into the Big Bull Red Bull team, hasn't he?
He has. He's going to be doing some testing later on this year, and I think all he needs is to finish in the top 5 in IndyCar.
He won't do that.
And he'll have the super license points.
Right.
He's not got a full-time drive in IndyCar, though, so he won't.
No, he's got the points.
Has he got
has
points
he?
for super license now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's
from
got,
Indy Lights.
I don't know, but it was something. He'd done another type of motorsport or something like that. It was.
Point.
I saw it. It was on the Formula One app, like the Paddock Pass thing.
Yeah.
And they checked it up, and there's something. There was something
another
odd
series somewhere or other. Fair
so
enough.
he can drive tomorrow if they want to put him in.
Right, but no, they were saying on the IndyCar coverage last night, and it was Lee Diffie that was saying it, who was the lead commentator for Formula One for quite a long time
Yeah.
when it was with NBC. Worked a lot with Sean Kelly, obviously, and is very trusted in what he says. And yeah, it looks like he's going to be doing some testing for Red Bull, so we'll probably see him in Hungary. And there is a Pirelli test that Red Bull are taking part in after Paul Ricard as well.
Yeah.
So expect to see him in Formula One machinery soon. And if he does a good job of that, that's Dan Ticktum falling even further down the pecking order, because he needs to win Super Formula to even get close to being in F1.
Yeah. I see. This is what I mean. Dan Ticktum kind of fucked himself, didn't he, by having it by the ban? But I'm really not into this point system for drivers that are clearly capable of getting into Formula One. Like Dan Ticktum is capable to be a Formula One driver right now.
Yeah,
You know, it's not right. Ian, I was talking about the IndyCar driver as well. I think there should be some sort of thing where if you look at like a lower formula, fair enough, like GP2, GP3, European Formula, whatever it's called now. I think there should be some sort of point system. But if you are in like WEC or IndyCar, or like there should be a Premier class, or even Formula E. You know, if you count that as a Premier class racing, there should be like a Premier class exemption. If you've like, could you imagine if someone comes into IndyCar late in the season and wins like 3 or 4 races, but doesn't quite have the points to come to Formula One? It's silly. It's a silly rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs an overhaul, but it's ironic that the whole super license points was purely designed around stopping Red Bull from doing another Verstappen.
Yeah, but the thing is, Verstappen worked.
Yeah.
So if Verstappen had come in and like killed more people than a nuclear bomb, I could understand it. And for all fairness, like it did look like he might do at one point.
I mean, for the most part, it stopped really shitty pay drivers from coming in.
Yeah, and Sean Gelael is one that probably springs to mind. That if he had the super license points, Toro Rosso might have gone for him.
Yeah, he is the new Esteban Tuero in waiting,
Yeah.
which most people usually had to wait behind Esteban Tuero while they removed his car.
But you've only got to do a certain amount of races in a class, don't you? You don't have to be successful in it.
No, you have to finish in a certain standing.
Oh, do you?
It's down to championship standings.
Right. See, I think the if it was me, I'd have an FIA laden Formula One car and lash Hamilton in it or something like that, so you get a baseline of what that car will do. And
No, you get the most average driver on the grid.
So
to do it.
Grosjean.
So you get, yeah, but you need to make sure the car gets around the full lap in one piece. You get someone with the driving abilities of Grosjean, but not the crashing abilities.
Magnussen.
Perfect.
Yeah, Magnussen's fine as long as no one else is near him.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He is as beige as Nico Rosberg's suits.
Yeah. In fact, all you need to do is start the car and then leave the circuit. Not even have any mechanics there.
Just leave him to
just
it.
leave the stopwatch going. But yeah, and then if you have, say, somebody come in, they have to lap within X of what the target time is.
7% just to keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So you qualify.
Keep it with qualifying.
Yeah, like that.
So yeah, that would work. I mean, they did something similar for picking the drivers in W Series.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, they went a little bit further than that with like media testing and driving in.
They had like
other
driving
cars
on
and-
2 wheels at one point. I think they had like they
What
took
was
the
it? It was-
front wheels off and just put casters on or something.
Yeah,
it was very
they were
bizarre.
they put back wheels on skateboards or
Something like that. Yeah.
It is a little bit reality TV, all it, isn't it? You know, the way that they start doing the sim work straight after the race. By sim work, esports.
Yes.
But yeah, there are now, I would say, officially 4 drivers fighting for the second seat in that Red Bull. 5 if you include Gasly, because he's got to try and keep his job.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's obviously there. I don't think, unless something miraculous happens to him over the year, I don't think he'll be in that car next year.
I mean, it's very hard to compare him against teammate to teammate when your teammate is something completely special.
Daniel Ricciardo was comparable to him.
Ricciardo was comparable to Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ricciardo's on the potential world championship winning level as well.
But that's what they're looking for.
That's what Red Bull want in that
But
car, isn't it?
that's the problem. And if he doesn't turn out to be... Gasly is a perfectly capable midfield driver.
Yeah.
But the problem is
They're not a midfield
they're
team.
not a midfield team, and I think he's above his pay grade.
I think he was brought up too quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is the problem with.
but don't forget, at the time they didn't have anyone else.
But no, this is the problem with Toro Rosso. This is the problem with Red Bull always wanting to go for a Toro Rosso driver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, I still stand by Red Bull should have took Alonso. It was a no-lose situation taking Alonso in that team. If Alonso beats Verstappen, then you praise Alonso for being the best driver in the world. He'd probably have might have won Monaco, for instance. If Verstappen beats Alonso, then you turn around and say, "Our boy just beat the guy that you think is the best driver in the world." It was a no-lose situation. But they have to use the junior feeder program.
I have a different theory on Gasly. I think he wasn't brought up soon enough. I'm going back to when he won GP2. He went off blabbing about, I'm definitely replacing
Do you think he was
Fiat next
Stoffels?
year. And he got sent to Super
Yeah.
Formula, didn't he? Rather than
Just
getting
sent to
that
be the
seat.
death. That's what is it? Is Tickerman in Super
He
He
Formula?
is in
Super
Super Formula.
Does
It's not
seem to be
going
the
so
death,
well for
doesn't
him.
it? Yeah.
But yeah, I think if they'd have actually put him in F1 the year he came in towards the end of it and gave him that full season, he'd obviously be a little bit further along.
So should the rules for GP F2 be shuffled and F2 and F3 be shuffled that you win the World Championship and then you can be in F2 in your championship year, so you have a driver you can have the number one like world champion on the grid.
I think that would make a lot more sense because
Gives them a year to try and find out where they're going.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, let
by
someone
the
defend the
time-
championship once.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
by the time you are champion, like this year, you didn't know who champion was until last year, you didn't know until the final race.
Yeah,
At which point George Russell is then looking at a grid that's quite full already.
yeah. Well, George Russell was trying to win the F2 championship and trying to work out where he was going to be
Yeah.
if he won the F2 championship.
But yeah, by that point, so many slots have been filled up.
Yeah.
If you're suddenly like, shit, I need a different
Then you end
drive
up
for
in
next
Williams.
year, you've
Yeah,
not got
'cause I
so
mean,
many choices.
I think Lando was signed before the end of the F2 season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was announced very early.
I think Lando knew what was going on when we interviewed him, because he even said that his career depended on what Alonso wanted to do,
Yeah.
and that was before he even started that season of racing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think having to leave F2 and have a completely uncertain future when, if it's meant to be the feeder series into F1, there aren't any seats available.
Maybe there should be an FIA car for the F2 winner.
We've said
Have you discussed this before?
We've
or was
said
I not
this
here for this
before.
one?
And yeah, I think it's a good idea. Give the top two in the F2 championship a guaranteed seat.
I like it. I just don't understand what that does to the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah. They just wouldn't count for points towards it, I guess. It'd just be a standalone thing.
But then, I mean, if you are essentially throwing a car together to put some in it, then how competitive would it be? And
Yeah.
Yeah,
if it was competitive, then the other teams will say, "Well, of course it's going to be competitive. They know they knew what the rules were going to be 12 months beforehand." I'd argue that maybe
it'd work if it'd work in a spec series.
It would work in a spec series.
It's a non-perfect system, isn't it? Really, I don't think there's one solution.
But no, I think the best way to do it is let the F2 champion defend the title if they haven't been offered a seat.
What if he was part of a whatever driver program? If he was already affiliated with a Formula One team, make it so every team has to sponsor a driver in a certain way. I don't mean sponsor as in like financially sponsor them. And then if their said sponsor wins the F2 championship, they can run a third car that doesn't score constructors points. But then you're gaming it, are you? Because they've got an extra car.
Yeah.
But then
there is
then
no
the
perfect
doesn't work,
solution.
no,
I
it
don't
doesn't work.
think.
Then the problem is the extra cost of actually running three cars and
Well, I mean, that would be cheaper than running a team for the FIA. The FIA could financially compensate them. But then, like I say, you've got one team's got 3 cars on the grid, and all of a sudden their GP2 champion gets told to drive it clean into the side of the first Mercedes.
Yeah, I think the only sensible way is just to keep the F2 winner in F2 for one more season.
Yeah, allowing him to work out where he's going to go next.
Yeah,
it makes sense to me.
Because then you'll end up with the possibility of somebody of the quality of George Russell in a car that he actually deserves to be in, rather than struggling round at the back, being outscored and outpointed by 2 drivers that he proved that he was better than last year in identical machinery.
Yeah. This did happen a few years back in Moto 2, which is like for the non-motorcycle fans, is same thing, feeder series into MotoGP, where Tito Rabat won the title, just didn't get any interest from MotoGP at that point, and defended his title.
Yeah.
Didn't win it again the next year, but it kept him on the radar, and he is now in MotoGP, so he just needed that extra year.
Yeah. No, I think that'd work. I mean, yeah, obviously what they're trying to do with F2 and F3 is a definite career path into F1, but
it seems to be more of a feeder series now than it has been in the past.
Well, we've got 3 drivers
Yeah.
from last year.
Again, I think that's down to the change in the point system, though, because it's cut off other options.
Yeah, I think it's down to the change of the point system and the fact that year we did happen to have a lot of talent in F2.
Yeah, I mean, the level of talent in F2 it's not the same as it was last year.
Yeah,
No.
I think you've got...
It's the leftovers that are doing well, isn't it? It's Latifi and De Vries. It's people who were kind of last year.
And now you've got somebody like Raghunathan in there
who such a wild card.
was 6 seconds off the pace at the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, I made a joke on Twitter about after he crashed and his car was being craned away. Telemetry said that's the fastest he'd gone all weekend.
But it's the same as Julian Palmer, isn't it? He won GP2 when the likes of Roman Grosjean and what's his name, Stoffel Van Dorn had won their championships and disappeared.
And then you get Davide Valsecchi, who won GP2, and there was nowhere for him to go, and he ended up retiring.
Good.
Did you enjoy watching Kimi dump him off the back of a jet ski this weekend?
No, I saw him and I stopped watching.
You're really not a fan, are you?
No, I can't stand him. I cannot stand him. And the funny thing is, apparently,
I just love the way he's complete Marmite.
Apparently he's a lovely bloke. I just can't stand his voice. I don't want to listen to the man. Like, if you, I mean, I can only speak English, and some would say borderline. But
the generous ones?
Yeah, but I thought you were going to go say the majority. But if you've got a man that he's Italian, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Massively.
Right. So either speak Italian or speak English. Don't try and do the same, like both of them at the same time. That's my problem with him.
He's passionate. He's enthusiastic.
He brings the Italian persona to his English language commentary, very much so.
When he was interviewing Charles Leclerc on the grid a couple of years ago, next to one of Leclerc's sponsor logos on the car, the clothing company Italian Gestures, and that was the most Italian thing that had ever been seen on any grid anywhere, including Ferraris at Monza in front of the Tifosi.
I can't help but feel we got sidetracked somewhere along the lines.
Were we talking about Toro Rosso?
Maybe.
I think we were talking about Toro Rosso.
Talking about Toro Rosso.
Back to an Italian team.
Yes.
Full circle.
Yeah, Kvyat 2.0. Best result in a Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
He's stopped running into people as much.
Since the McLarens.
Yeah.
I said as much.
But he just seems like a different guy. See, that's another person I think is like. Maybe you're right about Gasly. I don't know. Maybe it's the Super Formula curse, but he seems like a driver that was brought into Formula One too early, like a year too early. He just seems like such a more mature driver now.
Yeah. Yeah, because he replaced Jean-Eric Verne, didn't he?
No, he was alongside Jean-Eric Verne. Jean-Eric Verne and Kvyat replaced Alguersuari and Buemi.
Yes.
I think.
And we said at the time they promoted the wrong one to Red Bull.
Yeah.
I think is that a common theme for Kvyat? Everything's been too soon for him. Brought into F1 too soon. Moved up to Red Bull too soon.
Yeah, could be.
Just the timing hasn't quite been right for him.
And that year at Ferrari sorted him out.
He's still quite young, though, isn't he? He's still only about, 25, 26?
About that, yeah. Young enough to watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But on the whole, decent race for Toro Rosso. I mean, really, fourth best team. Technically, they were best of the rest on results.
Yeah.
All right, Ferrari we have written down next.
The most binary of the results.
Boy. All right, who's got theories on where they fucked up in qualifying?
It's not just Ferrari that fucked up. They fucked up because they wanted to keep tyres, so they had time to do another run. The track ramped up on them, and people went quicker than they thought they would do. But the top and bottom of it is Leclerc in that car shouldn't have been in the drop zone.
True.
Vettel was in trouble because he'd crashed in practice, and he had to go and do a load of laps to start with to try and get his head in the game. That's why he wasn't there. Leclerc didn't have that issue, and he screwed himself. Brett screwed Brett beforehand. So
Wrestling reference, by the way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but I mean, you listen to the radio, and he was desperate to go out again. And one thing that came from the pit wall, which was very un-Ferrari, or what you'd think is an un-Ferrari thing to do, but with the way that their strategy works these days. Oh, we should be all right.
yeah,
If you think you should be all right, get the car on the track.
exactly.
That-
You can always pull them into the garage and
Yeah.
not do a lap.
Yeah, but that is just that's not how Ferrari should think. Surely,
No.
we should be all right.
No, but I'll counter that by saying I've never heard a radio communication where someone said we will be okay. That's just a turn of phrase.
It's usually slightly more confident, though, isn't it? It's usually more, we expect the cut-off to be this and we're inside it. There's usually a bit more.
Same thing.
It is, but it sounds a little bit more confident.
But-
Should is very sketchy.
But the thing is, if it's we should be all right, we might be okay. We think we'll probably be all right.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
Go out again.
Yeah,
make
you
it
are right.
Yeah, make it so that you will be all right.
No, I still don't get me wrong. Ferrari were wrong not sending them out. When they sent Vettel out, they should have sent both the cars out.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't have been in the position
No.
because he should have already been safe.
I mean, what he was. I think he was as high as I want to say 8th before the time started dropping.
But we see this happen every race, don't we? We see someone who's like, oh, look, someone's quite high up, and then all of a sudden, bit more rubber on the track. People get their heads in because they've got a couple of laps. Time starts tumbling.
I mean, with about 5 minutes to go in Q1, Lance Stroll was looking like he might actually make it through.
At one point, Lance Stroll was only about 1/10 of a second ahead of George Russell in Q1.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think Ferrari were, especially looking at the race for Leclerc, I think Ferrari are justified in going with Sebastian Vettel as their lead driver.
With that one, yeah, I mean that's the first time we've actually seen Leclerc making rookie mistakes.
I'm not sure about that.
I mean, he was when the race finally got going, he was bloody terrible.
I think the
Cut
occasion...
the first corner. All right, you managed to give the places back in time. Driving back to the pits way too fast.
Don't forget,
with a blown tyre.
don't forget he crashed in Baku.
True.
You know, this is the thing, right? Everybody got really excited about Leclerc because of
that was a qualifying crash. So this is race rookie mistakes. I'm saying
it doesn't matter. It's still you know it still fucks you. But you know, he had that race where he should have won it, and his engine blew up, and everyone got really excited about him. But he's shown a lack of maturity. He's shown a lack of maturity in some of the mistakes he's making, and he's shown a lack of maturity in. Fair enough, Ferrari is falling apart around him, but him falling apart inside that building is not going to help the situation.
no. But he completely destroyed the car on the way back to the pits after the puncture.
Yeah.
And you know, the commentators were saying at the time he is going too fast.
It was a stupid move, though. It was an absolutely he did a brilliant move on Grosjean, but he set that move up over like 3 laps, and then he came across Hülkenberg and just threw one at him.
Yeah, it was a waste as well because he at that point had been making quite nice progress through the field, and then just threw it all away.
Other side of the garage, though, Vettel inheriting second.
Well, this is the most distressing thing for Ferrari that I can see this weekend. Worse than Leclerc is the fact that they're satisfied with finishing second.
And that's not the Ferrari way.
Not when you had the car that they had in pre-season testing.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said on the grid, which I found interesting?
No.
When he said about all the other teams struggling with tyres, we were struggling a little bit, but I was struggling getting the tyres hot.
Who was that? Was that Vettel?
Vettel, yeah.
Okay.
You know, when everyone else is like blistering and stuff like that, but
He can't get heat.
yeah, this is their issue. You know, if he can't get heat over the course of a fucking race,
Yeah. I mean, this is something that we discussed with Scarbs last week about Ferrari just cannot get the heat into the tyres. And you add that to the strategy. Drivers making daft mistakes. Yeah, bloody shamble city.
but what
No, that's York.
What I think is the fact, because he was so calm and collected and reasonably happy to finish second in Monaco, he came across as a man that knows he can't win the championship.
I mean, I think realistically he can't.
Yeah,
I think it is gone.
But to think that at this time of the season, in what
We're not even a third of the way in
the Ferrari,
Yeah.
so does that mean that he knows internally that whatever's wrong with that car and why they can't get their heads around what's wrong with the tyres, does he know that this is the season? That this is where Ferrari are? There's nothing they can do to sort that issue out.
Possible.
It could be. I mean, now you mention it, it does seem like it's not like he's checked out, but
He's kind of resigned to his place.
It's that period at work where you've handed your notice in.
I wonder if he's going to hand his notice in.
Yeah, you've handed your notice in, and what can they do? Sack me. And you turn up and you phone it in every day.
Yeah.
And is that what he's going through at the minute? And is he going to be off at the end of the year?
I don't know. I mean, I do feel.
Is he going to be
for him.
Is he going to be the fifth driver in line for that Red Bull seat?
Ooh, Vettel and Verstappen. That's
If you won't have
Jesus
Verstappen there.
Christ.
If I can see Vettel going to replace Verstappen.
Swap the drivers, maybe.
Because with Christian Horner coming out and saying, I don't get me wrong, I think Verstappen might be foolish to leave Red Bull right now, but with Horner already coming out saying, "Oh, Verstappen's going nowhere," and it's because his contract's not up till next year.
Yeah.
But like we were saying, no one's signing contracts for 2021, so he's got the performance clause. Sorry, that was it. He's got some performance clause in his contract that he, if he's not in contention to win a world championship, he can leave his contract.
There's always a price on a contract. You can always buy yourself out of it, and he's not short of a few pennies.
If you're Ferrari or Mercedes, I'm sure it's
they'd
easy
be happy
to buy someone's.
Yeah.
The only thing is I can't see him going to Mercedes. I can't see Mercedes taking him if they've got Lewis.
It undermines their young driver program as well, really, doesn't it? They've got Ocon, they've got Russell.
Well, at the moment, Bottas is undermining the Mercedes young driver program because he's nailed on to be in that car next year.
Well, yes.
I don't think Mercedes are as married to their young driver program as Red Bull are. I think Mercedes are what I would call, for want of better words, a real Formula One team. They just want the best drivers that are available to them at the time, whereas Red Bull want to grow their own.
And sometimes they use the wrong fertiliser.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't leave them in the ground long enough.
Christian Klein, anybody? I mean, we talked at length this season about Ferrari and all the problems,
and we're going to talk more about them. This is not going to finish. This
and we are going to talk for another 15 races about their problems at this rate.
Canada, I think they've got a good chance of winning in Canada.
Get a bit of weather in Canada, that'll liven things up.
Well, mind you, it's like, isn't it like 50 below in the summertime in Canada? So,
One of these days, just for 1 week, I'm going to turn the Twitter account over to you, and you can be responsible for,
Good Lord.
for whatever it is you say on the show.
Yeah, but would you make it to the end of a race without getting banned if you were in charge of the Twitter account? I could feel a suspension coming along.
Why does Three Legs Four Wheels support Tommy Robinson?
Nobody else does.
This is apparently 32,000 people. 2% of the voters.
Save that for another show.
Crazy.
Move on now to Red Bull. Verstappen crossed the line second.
Yeah.
5 second penalty. We've talked about the unsafe release, and that divided Twitter massively when it happened. There was people saying from one end, that's not enough, it should be a stop go, or 10 seconds at minimum, or
I think it was right. I think it was
shouldn't have had a penalty, and there's nothing you can do on that pit lane. He has now got another 2 penalty points, which puts him on to 7, and I think, did you say it's September?
Did he get a penalty point for the unsafe release?
Yeah.
He got
That's
2, I
out
think.
of order.
No, it wasn't for the unsafe release, it was hitting Bottas in the pit lane.
I think that's out of order. I think he was sent into the situation to do that.
But yeah, I think it puts him on 8, and his next penalty points don't come off until I think it's Belgium.
Yeah.
It's definitely September anyway, so he's now got to get through to the summer break without really doing anything too exciting.
Interesting. See, I think the penalty was right. I think the 5 second penalty was about where it should have been. I don't think he should have not been given a penalty because the team deserved one for it, but I also think they rolled the dice with it. I think they knew they were going to get a penalty.
They knew the penalty probably
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be less harsh than taking that place
and
from
it was
Bottas.
they were always going to finish fourth with him. Whereas if they did that and got him out in front of Bottas, they might have got him onto the podium.
Yeah, there was a chance, wasn't there, if he cleared
Yeah.
Hamilton and got a bit of a gap.
Half a car length he was away from finishing second in that Grand Prix. If he'd have been sent out of the garage half a car length ahead of Bottas and actually got out in front of him, then they probably wouldn't have got a penalty for it. And he might have won the Grand Prix at that point, because I still think that if you'd have given him a genuine sniff of a win, he might have smashed his way past.
I mean, he did have a few goes at Hamilton. There was one on the insert name here, because no one can remember what it's called this week, hairpin.
Yeah.
He came close a couple of times there, didn't he?
And Hamilton was doing some fantastic defending.
Yeah, I think Hamilton always had that covered, didn't he? There was one where he got sort of alongside him, but he was always going to get driven into a wall if he tried to do that.
If you go around the outside there,
Yeah.
as soon as you straighten out, you are nowhere to go.
I think that was one thing that you said when we were watching it. It's like, there's your gap, but it might not always be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Decent enough performance from him, though. And our Red Bull in with a chance of being the second best team.
Yeah, I think so. I only if Gasly gets himself together.
But also, if Leclerc is getting to the point where the head is maybe starting to
Maybe.
go a bit, then and he starts dropping more points, then that makes Gasly's sort of averageness.
I mean, we know that Gasly's good at one lap.
Yeah, could Gasly be sort of the Raikkonen maybe? Absolutely nowhere near challenging the teammate, but will always be at the back of the front runners.
Yeah, I mean, Gasly seems to be the expert this season in lonely races.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Which is why he got
the
the fastest lap again.
Which is where he's getting his fastest laps from. And it really shouldn't be that, because you can see what the car's capable of doing. All right, Max is many levels above him when it comes to getting the best out of the car. But Gasly should be closer.
I think he should be behind him. If you're in the team, I don't care who your teammate is. I still don't think Verstappen is the finished article of what he will be. Bottas is closer to Hamilton than Gasly is to Verstappen, and Hamilton is proving himself to be the best driver in the world at the moment. So I don't think Max Verstappen is unbeatable by his teammate. You know, he's a very good driver, but his teammate should be a very good driver in that team as well.
I mean, people might give us a slating for thinking this, but have Red Bull brought Gasly in to make Verstappen look even better?
No.
I don't think it does, though, does it? I think we would think Verstappen was better if he was beating Ricciardo than now while he's beating Gasly.
Yeah.
I think second half of last season, we probably had a higher opinion of Verstappen because he was, winning races and one of the best drivers in the second half last season, whereas Ricciardo went off the boil.
Also, what Ricciardo did, because we always used to think, I mean, I know we had the front wing situation with Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber, but we always used to think that Red Bull completely favoured Vettel over Webber.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ricciardo proved that Red Bull was a much more open team than we thought it was, and Webber probably had every chance of beating Vettel if he was capable of doing it, because otherwise Ricciardo wouldn't have got the opportunity to come in and batter Vettel that year.
Yeah.
I think we were all expecting him to come in and play the number 2 driver, and he just
ruined him consistently over a year. But I think that's what Red Bull want as well. I think they want 2 competitive drivers. And he must be under loads of pressure. There has to be pressure on him.
I mean, Red Bull are the most internally pressurised team on the grid.
Yeah, well, there's always someone to take your job.
Yeah.
It's not the case of finding another driver to hire. There's literally 2 stood behind you at every time and 2 behind them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Red Bull have a get-together on a weekend for all their drivers that are taking parts. I think they're looking at now bringing more onto the young driver programme that were already in F2 and F3.
Well,
because they're going to have to, because everybody else, aside from Pato O'Ward and Dan Tickton, were all about 8 and still driving go-karts.
They signed one that's in Euro Formula Open whose name eludes me a couple of weeks ago. They've got Jack Doohan in Euro Formula Open as well.
I think they're looking at taking Nico Kari back, who is in F3 this year.
They've got Yuri Vips as well. I think he's kicking about somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember what series he's in at the moment, but I think he is still on their program.
But
so,
they're actually now looking at signing drivers that are old enough to drive road cars.
Right, okay.
Crazy idea.
makes
Nick De Vries
sense.
is unattached, isn't he? All of a sudden.
But he says he's got something that he can't announce for a little while. And I think that thing that he can't announce for a little while will be coming after Le Mans, and that's going to be a WEC seat for next season.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Maybe.
reckon it's going to be because the next WEC season starts at after this F2 season finishes.
Yes, that is true.
So I reckon that's what it is, and Nick De Vries will be leaving single-seaters.
Maybe.
Now that McLaren don't want him anymore.
He's one of these that got stuck in F2, really, hasn't
Yeah.
he? He's not good enough, really, to push on, but he does a good enough job not to drop off the grid entirely.
There's a chance he could win F2 this year, which that's going to completely screw his career up because no Formula One team will end up taking him.
Yeah,
because there isn't a space.
He's like we were saying before. He like Latifi, who's doing quite well in F2 this year. They're there because everyone more talented has moved on.
Yeah, I still think Latifi might find himself in a Williams next year.
Possibly.
There's every chance because I mean he's been testing for him, and
he looks like everybody's older brother as well. He he's got like a Formula One driver neck where everyone else is children around him.
That leaves us with Mercedes. Disappointingly, their worst performance of the season.
I know, yeah. It's awful.
The decline starts here.
Yeah, there's only one way now, and it's down. Mm-hmm. I mean, third.
Well, that safety car robbed them of another one too.
Yeah,
probably.
They should have had another one too, which is a bit of a shame because records and that. But yeah,
just wait till next year. They'll probably take 1-2s for the first 8 races.
Oh well, they could still. I think they can still break that 1-2 their current 1-2 record this year.
I mean, there's 15 races left.
Yeah,
Plenty of time.
I think it's unbeatable, that car. Hamilton shouldn't have, given what happened to him with those tyres and stuff, he shouldn't have won that race.
I mean, they looked angry.
Yeah.
You know, those tyres were, if you were seeing them for sale on eBay, it would say pre-loved.
I think that was as good as... it was a bit of a shame, like I say, because Verstappen could never actually win the race because of his penalty.
Yeah.
But I think Hamilton was as good as Senna was when he was followed by Mansell. I think that
There was a lot of that comparison, wasn't there, on
that
Twitter?
It's very similar situation.
But I just can't see how at the moment any other team can challenge Mercedes with what they are able to get out of that car.
I don't think anyone's going to challenge Hamilton now.
Do you think Bottas has now dropped off and he's going to finish second?
Yeah, see what people didn't notice, or maybe they did notice, but it didn't really sink in, was the last two corners of Hamilton's qualifying lap. He fucked. He was wrestling that car around the last part of the lap.
Actually, you're right, because his last qualifying lap was 2 purples and a yellow.
Yeah. And he was saying he was looking at the delta on his dashboard, and he kept seeing time just dripping away, and he was just willing the line to turn up quick enough. I think if he'd have nailed that last sector, like what you'd usually expect Hamilton to do, he'd have been about 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Bottas. You know, for him to fuck the last sector that much and still get pole. Bottas will not see unless there's a mechanical issue before Hamilton is 25 points ahead. I don't think Bottas will see the lead of that championship again.
And Mercedes don't tend to have mechanical issues.
No.
You know.
Except for that one race last year. Was it Austria, where they both conveniently had mechanicals at almost exactly the same time? It was very bizarre.
Just absolutely dominant performance.
Mm-hmm.
And that is basically what we get out of Mercedes this season.
Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing it on various social media saying, I'm going to stop watching, Mercedes are too dominant. When are Ferrari going to win like they used to? Like, well, hang on. Did you stop watching during the Schumacher-dominated era? You probably didn't.
I spoke to people on Facebook about this afternoon. It's no good speaking to people on Facebook.
Facebook people are the reason that they put "do not eat" on packets of silica gel.
Facebook has turned into the comments section on YouTube videos.
Hot sex, get it here. Click this URL. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong videos.
wrong videos,
Right, okay.
and that's Pornhub. Yeah, and it's the might have threw a grenade out there and said I didn't think, because somebody asked whether Hamilton's. It was Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker had said that Hamilton's approaching like becoming F1's GOAT, and somebody retweeted it saying, also reposted that tweet saying, like, what do you people think? And obviously the Schumacher comparisons came out, and I happened to put down like, well, I think Hamilton, if he beats it, is going to be remembered better because he didn't have a Benetton with. He didn't have a cheating Benetton with active suspension or whatever it was. Or was it traction control?
It was everything.
Yeah, everything. He didn't have a championship which involved him running into a Brit to win it. He didn't have a red car that was helped by the fucking sports governing body at every single turn. And he didn't have a tyre manufacturer that made tyres not just for the car he was in, but for him. See, when you put all those things in a line, Schumacher's legacy looks tainted in my eyes.
1994 will always have that little asterisk next to it for me anyway. What do we think about driver of the day? I think it was Verstappen that won.
It was Verstappen officially,
I think it was
wasn't it?
Lewis was the driver of the day.
I'm going to throw an outsider and say Sainz.
I would have said Sainz.
Or George Russell as a honourable mention to finish ahead of a Racing Point and 2 Alfa Romeos.
Heroes and villains. Villain Leclerc.
Yeah, maybe. Although he did make the race interesting.
He did liven some stuff up, didn't he? Maybe K-Mag, he had a bit of a scuffle, didn't he? Red Bull pit crew for releasing Verstappen into Bottas.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Hero, definitely Lewis.
Yeah.
You know, brave struggle, man versus tyre. Worst Bear Grylls series ever.
Pirelli were the villain.
You can't say Pirelli are the villain because...
Pirelli insists they're not the villain and it's the team's fault.
Yeah, it's too low-hanging fruit.
No, but I don't think anyone... It's not like Bernie Ecclestone's still around. saying, "Give me tyres that last one lap and then explode like the messages in Mission Impossible." You know, it's that's not happening
It's a
anymore.
beautiful metaphor.
So,
Possible hero as well for Perez for having the situation with the marshals
Yeah,
and
good
not
call.
running a
Yeah.
person over.
Yes, very good call. So how did we do on the predictions?
unless he
then?
tried to hit them and he's just rubbish.
No, because when Perez wants to hit someone, he usually does. So
What's Mexicano for Skittles? I just want to go back and listen to the to the pit radio.
we'll do the predictions. Right, people want art here. Chris went for a Hamilton win. Bottas second, Leclerc third.
I didn't do well.
4 points.
I didn't do well.
Dan, Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel. Got the right top three, 5 points. Scarbs was last week's guest predictor. He went Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. 6 points.
Yeah.
Beat us all.
Shocker.
Lee, yours was Hamilton, Bottas, and Lando.
Mistake.
Were you
Yeah.
drunk last week?
I just had I thought we might get rain. I thought there might be some smashy smashies. And realistically, if there had been smashy smashies, Sainz was up there.
Yeah.
That could have quite easily have been Lando.
Still only scored 4 points.
Yes.
Um,
More than I thought I did.
I went for Hamilton, Bottas, and Verstappen.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up with 4 points. Sean. Bottas, Verstappen, and Hamilton. A 2-pointer.
I'm biding my time.
You are biding your time in last place on the prediction
I was
league.
shit until about Germany last year, and then I suddenly hit completely psychic fest, and
All right,
it was
Hamilton.
all good.
Which
I'm Hamiltoning it.
which I need to update. Guest predictors, thanks to Scarbs, are now up to 16 points, level with Dan. Chris is in third with 18. Lee, you're in second with 20, and I'm as I've matched you for points this week, I am still one race ahead on 29. Still all to play for.
I like the fact that the guest predictors are like a hive mind. it's like we're competing against Borg.
It's interesting to see, though, that we've had 6 races, and the guests have got 16 points, and 6 of them came from one person who admittedly knows more about Formula One than any of us 5 that do this show and any of the other guest predictors combined.
Probably right. I wouldn't argue with this point.
We will have the predictions back next week for Canada, and of course the prediction league is open for Canada now. So if you go to 3legs4wheels.com, go to the game section, and if you're feeling brave enough to enter your predictions this early, good bloody luck to you.
I feel it would be peaking a bit too soon.
I get the tell you what, hang on the website at the minute. Shall I have a look and see if anybody's?
I'll declare mine now.
Oh,
It's going to be Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel.
wild. Did you not say you thought Vettel was going to win about half an hour ago?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there might be a chance of him winning, but then I remembered that it's like 100 below zero in the sun.
Wow, 5 people have already got the predictions in for Canada.
And has anything unusual?
No, there's lots of Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas, and Leclerc in there. So
Is Captain Kubica not put his in yet?
give him time. Give him time. As far as the championship goes on that, Christy S is leading along with Chiara Heaney, both on 36 points. Did we have a full house?
Chiara's a good name. It sounds like an X-Man.
Did we have a full house in Monaco? I will find out.
Are you calling our listeners mutants?
Well, I mean, yes. But I just thought that went as red.
Hang on a second. Why isn't this working properly? There we go.
Talk amongst yourselves again.
No, we had a 10-pointer
That's not bad.
from somebody very local, actually, at Ryan from Onken.
Hi, Savo.
This week's winner is less than half a mile away from the pod room.
Yep. Fix.
If it's a fix, wouldn't that mean you're the easiest person to tell him what to do, and therefore you would have been better?
That's why I know.
News, as there is some this week. First thing, obviously, the sad news about Niki Lauda passing. I did a little tribute before the show last week,
Yeah.
which we recorded on a Monday, and it was literally 4 hours before the announcement that Nicky Lauda had died. Absolute legend.
I heard an amazing story on the BBC podcast, which I'm going to repeat now in case nobody listens to it. One of the, I can't remember, I think it might be in the commentator for Radio 5 Live commentator, was asked what story about Nicky Lauda does he think encapsulates him the best. And he said it's not a racing one. It was his airline, when his plane crashed and all those people died. And he said, first of all, he made himself available 24/7 to the families of the victims. He poured a load of money in trying to work out what happened, and he was quite prepared to fold the airline company if it turned out it was a Lauda airline problem. It turned out it was a problem with the Boeing airplane. So he then took that to Boeing, spoke to them. They told him basically to fuck off. He went back, put the however you work a fucking flight simulator out, and ran the flight simulator himself a bunch of times. And every time he got to a certain stress point, that part of the plane broke in the sim. And he then took that back to Boeing and said, look, this is that. It's your fucking plane that broke here. Boeing again told him to fuck off. And he said, well, that's fine then, because tomorrow I'm going to fly a plane on my own over LA if you are so sure that it wasn't your part. And by the time he got back to his hotel, they'd put a statement out apologising for it.
Wow. I think the best tribute I've seen to him all week came from friend of the show, Virtual Statman, and he described Nicky Lauda as being like an oak tree. Even when you poured petrol over him and set him on fire, he didn't die.
That was very accurate.
Scarps is my favourite one. Scarps said the man was so tenacious. I wouldn't be surprised to see him turn up in Monaco.
I mean, he's obviously going to be missed on the grid.
Yeah.
Seeing the amount of tributes that we've seen to him this weekend is just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
And there'll never be another one like him.
No, wouldn't have thought so.
No. And if you haven't seen it, watch Rush.
Absolutely, it's a fucking brilliant film.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Also, if you haven't seen it, why are you listening to an F1 podcast for crying out loud?
Yeah,
but yeah, go watch that.
It's a great film, and it's got the most beautiful man on the planet in it.
I sometimes do worry about
hey,
your love of Thor.
Everyone is a bit gay for Hemsworth.
Moving on. One 2021 regulation that apparently now isn't going to be happening is there's going to be no standardised gearboxes, which is good news for McLaren.
Wasn't that only put out for tender the other day?
I think it was quite recent. It was put out for tender, but yeah, they've come back and gone, nah, that's not going to happen. I think there was one company who had hopefully planned to go for it, and they're fuming because they've spent time developing stuff and putting time and money and resources into it, and it's not happened. So,
But I say this is good news for McLaren because they seem to be the main gearbox supplier at the moment to quite a lot of the teams, but they weren't going to be tendering for it.
Right. Wow.
I think doing a full grid would have been too much, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think they can supply 4 other teams at most at that capacity. It's a bit of an odd one because F1 have said that they want to get as many standardised non-vital parts in as possible, and I would have thought that the gearbox was more suited to not being standardised across the whole grid because you're going to need something different for every engine.
Yeah, and wheels as well. There's a lot of different parts going to be fitted to the same thing. I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
True.
But,
You're a decorator.
I am. In my professional opinion, as a decorator, it sounds easy.
But it's all to do with the cost cap that they want to bring in, or the reduction in cost. I've noticed they're veering away from using the term cost cap now, and it's all cost reduction.
It's levelling the cost, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they seem to be wanting to do.
But we all remember what happened the last time there was a cost cap. Caterham, HRT, and Virgin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not... Well, I mean, yeah, to be fair, the cost cap didn't come in, did it? They were fucked because the cost cap didn't happen.
Yeah.
And
all the other teams that complained that they didn't get selected because they weren't going to be using Cosworth engines.
Oh, like ProDrive and who else was in there?
Yeah, there was Stefan GP.
Oh, that rings a bell.
I can't... It's such a strange situation, isn't it? Because I don't understand. If they want to bring a cost cap in, I don't understand why it's so difficult to do it.
Because Ferrari don't want to.
Yeah, no, but in the new regulations, I'm actually borderline. If Ferrari have still got their veto, I might stop watching Formula One because it's ridiculous.
I think that's something they're trying to take away, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it is just the most stupid thing.
Claire Williams is latest team principal
She
to come
can
out
keep
and
it
say,
shut. She's got enough to fucking worry about.
she's the latest one to come out and say it should be stopped.
Yeah.
You're agreeing with her.
No, she's agreeing with me. I said it ages ago.
I think, yeah, it's not a revolutionary thing that people think it should be stopped if she's only just hopping on that one now. That's been about for a while.
Yeah, but she's at least 6 seconds off the pace. So.
Well, that's
she
true.
turned around in an interview over the weekend saying if she thought she had a detrimental effect to Williams, she would resign. I was almost expecting the next line for her to turn around and say, and I'm very proud to be the second female head of a team.
But I won't be the last.
But yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Got Haas livery written down here next.
Yeah, so Haas have basically, even though there's a whole debacle with the Rich Energy logo being ripped off and there's a whole copyright situation there, Haas have been given legal sort of permission to keep their livery until all settlements are done, which is why they have a dodgy logo on their car.
You don't really need the fucking... surely they can keep the livery, just get rid of the ram.
They're allowed to keep that at the moment,
Right.
is what that whole hoo-ha is about.
Yeah, are they actually paying any royalties to White Bikes for it yet? Or?
God knows, I think that's what Rich and White Bikes are fighting
How does
about.
that happen?
I don't know. Have you seen the picture of Grosjean on a white bike?
Yes.
So it's not like...
Hang on a
Well, I
second.
mean, according to Scarbs, William Story's going to be over here this week for TT because he sponsors a couple of riders, so we
he
could
is a
find him and ask him.
distinctive-looking guy
if
as
he
well.
didn't look like 20% of the people that come over to
Oh, no, he is a distinct-looking guy, and he wears, like, black and gold trainers in the
Right,
Rich
okay.
Energy colours, so if he's here, you will see him.
Right.
It's like the few years ago at TT, I was went to Peel Day with a mate of mine, Ben Thumbs,
Yeah.
and there was a couple of TV chefs over during TT who are well known for riding motorbikes and cooking.
Jamie
And-
Oliver.
Yeah, that's the one. And yeah, we're in
Just
the
looks like a member of ZZ Top.
yeah,
20% of the people that come over to watch TT.
yeah, we're in the middle of Peel, Honda sponsored day. Ben taps me on the shoulder. Like, look over there, hairy bikers. Well, yes. If we see William Story, we will try and get hold of him. That'll be an interesting interview. I've not exactly been particularly nice about Rich Energy, but we will see if he's around. We'll definitely be able to pick him out in the
I'm
paddock.
almost convinced he hasn't listened, if that makes you feel
Yeah, he's
any
been busy
better
with a
than-
court battle.
That
I'm sure
is
he's
true.
got better things to be doing with his time than listening to our...
He is local.
Stuff.
He does have local connections. There could be skeet. We'll move on. Rio track layout.
Yes, a layout has been published for
And
what
who-
the Rio Grand Prix could look like.
And who's designed it?
Is it their crazy president?
Nope.
No?
Worse.
Oh, is it Tilke?
It's fucking
Oh,
Tilke
yes.
again.
Was Austin a Tilke?
Stop clock.
I think...
Yeah, but Austin's a tribute circuit to all the others. He's got the one good corner from every other
Yeah.
circuit he's designed and put them all together.
It's not
Interesting.
his design, it's
Yeah.
his
But
compilation.
all the Tilke
Now that's
circuits
what
are
I call
rubbish,
Herman Tilke.
you know. But I don't know. We'll see what happens to street circuit anyway, innit?
No, it's going to be specifically built.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's on the site of the old Rio Grand Prix circuit, which was bulldozed to make way for the Olympic Village, which is now going to be bulldozed to make way for the new circuit.
You're saying it's Rio and they smashed it into sand?
You're using all my best jokes. Yeah, apparently it's going to be a completely new circuit. It's going to be an actual track. It's not going to be a straight circuit around buildings.
Cool.
Yeah, we've seen the preliminary sketches that came out in the
Guess
last
what?
week.
It looks exactly like every other Tilka circuit.
Okay, it does look a bit like a Tilka circuit.
It's got one tightish opening out hairpin. I'm not looking at this at the moment. There's going to be some S's in there somewhere.
There's a couple of S's.
And it's going to have a sharp corner at the top of a hill with a downhill runoff.
I can't make out whether it's a hill or not, but there is a sharp corner. One would call it an L.
Oh God, I did that without even looking.
Yeah.
It looks to me very much like the Korea circuit, just with not quite as excessively long straights.
There's a touch of Hockenheim to it as well.
Possible, yeah. See where you're coming from.
So, get ready for another Tilka Fest if that happens. And it's going to be 2021 at the earliest that it's going to be there, because Sean Bratches has definitively said that Sao Paulo, Interlagos, has the contract for next year regardless of what the Brazilian president says.
Right.
So it's Interlagos or nothing for Brazil next year. And if it's nothing, there will be lawsuits.
Yeah.
What do we got next? What we have next is me not wearing glasses.
Is this South Africa?
Ah, yes, Kyle Army. That wants to come back. It's back to holding international class races again. Mm-hmm. F1 want a race in Africa, but we talked about
There is a
last
distinct
week.
lack of F1 in Africa, isn't there?
Yeah.
Is it so? If it's international class, does that's still not Formula One?
It's
though,
the
is
one
it?
below, I think, so they would have
Right.
to do a little bit of extra work and more facilities and
It'd
stuff.
be interesting
but-
to know what the gravel trap situation is there.
It's doing endurance racing at the moment, and they have gravel traps rather than runoffs.
Yeah.
So you've got to imagine that if it wants F1, they're going to have to make actual runoffs again.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing as gravel is now not in favour.
Yeah.
Oh,
It depends what else it holds, really, doesn't it? Because you have to have gravel if you've got bikes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And obviously, if F1 are looking at going back to Kyle Army, you'd think that MotoGP or World Superbikes would want to follow. Well, it'd be World Superbikes first, followed by MotoGP.
Yeah.
And is it going to be one of these circuits where they're able to convert the runoffs to gravel traps depending on what's running there?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it'd be nice to get another race in South Africa. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Was the 80s?
92.
92, was it still there? But yeah, I'm all up for new circuits. I mean, I'm up for more races as well. I think it's.
And looking at an overhead of it, it does look like it has runoff rather than gravel trap.
I can see Formula One turn into how many races we got this year? 22?
21.
21.
21. It's 21 next year.
I can see it turn into a 26, 30 race season.
I think at the moment the concourse agreement limits it to 25.
Concord,
excuse me, yes.
The concourse agreement is
There's something very different.
yeah.
Yes.
How many hospitality suites you can actually have? And I don't know about anybody else, but I am sick of Sky doing features on the new Red Bull wooden one.
I'm just sick of Sky. Like, did you see the? I think it was before qualifying. They did the F1 show, and there was a good half an hour of Gasly and
the
ducks.
hooker duck.
Yeah,
What? I missed this.
the Gasly and Verstappen were at the Red Bull Energy Pool, or whatever it's called, and there was a load of ducks in there, and they had to hook ducks, and each duck had a question on it for the drivers.
I see. So they were hooking one out and then answering a question. Just
but-
have some cards. Just ask people questions.
Well, I don't get it.
I tweeted on Saturday how long before they go full on and bring out the gunge tank.
Do you know what the problem is? Is the fact that Formula One should not have its own fucking channel. They're creating content out of thin air, and it's just ridiculous. Even the build up doesn't build up the race. They talk.
You want to see a race build up. You don't want to see Johnny Herbert and Natalie Pinkham riding around Barcelona on bikes looking for the best restaurant.
No, I don't give a fuck about them in a plane above fucking Australia. I don't care. It's stupid. But I mean, that's the one thing I got from watching the Indy qualifying was it was so nice given how how long it was dragged out for. They were just talking about the sport.
Yeah, they just went into people's garages
Yeah.
and talked to them there. And
Every week we sit here and talk for almost 2 hours or sometimes 2.5 hours about Formula One. Why is it so difficult for professional broadcasters to do that?
Because they want to make it a show to hold people's attention, attract the casual viewer. But if you're a casual viewer, you're not going to subscribe to the exclusive channel for
course
it.
not.
well, if you're a casual viewer as well, you're probably not going to stick around during like a 2-hour
Well,
rain delay or something. You'll go find something else to do.
Again, there was no Ted Kravitz this weekend, was there? And there was no Notebook.
Yeah.
Now, I'd love to know what the situation is there.
He's contracted for 13 races out of the 21. He is working for other broadcasters. I think he's doing some work for F1 TV.
I know he's doing F1 TV. He does like the like a midweek report thing.
The midweek tech
doesn't
show.
he? Yeah.
It's a Sky and F1 TV co-production.
Yeah. Now,
He's part of Channel 4's W Series team
Yeah.
as well. So he's
Which,
off with that every other
interestingly
weekend.
is Whisper Films, which is
Yes.
David Coulthard's production company.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd be interested to know whether this was his choice, because given the lack of comment about it and him taking Sky off his Twitter and stuff like that, it doesn't feel like it's his choice.
There were various rumours,
Yeah.
weren't there,
The
about
main-
him not getting
the-
on with certain producers.
The main
and-
rumour is the new head of Sky Sports didn't like him, got rid of him, saw the outcry, offered him a limited
the
deal.
the whole program's got a new producer as well, doesn't it?
Mm.
Now, all I can think is, I mean, I might be wrong here. Maybe there's some people out there which fucking despise Ted Kravitz, but I haven't found one of them yet.
I think people vary from indifferent to love him.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
there's anyone who's bothered by him as such.
But I don't think there's anybody else in the whole broadcast team that is relatable to the audience as much as Ted.
Mm-hmm.
So if the fact that he isn't there in the prominent position suggests to me that the producer has no idea who his demographic are.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, we'd like more stuff about the sport and less shots of Johnny Herbert being wacky.
Well, Johnny Herbert's just like a less exciting Eddie Jordan these days. And I think the team's too big as well. I think I think we should have a commentary team, which is just a commentary team. I think Martin Brundle's grid walk is fucking awful now. It's they either.
Well, yeah, I think
It's
he's been instructed to play Spot the Celeb.
I
Yeah.
think as well the 10 past the hour thing seems to have shafted that a bit, because all the drivers, when you get out on the grid, they've got a little bit longer to fuck off and do whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the pit lane's still opening at 5:30.
Yeah,
I think the national anthem's done it as well,
yeah.
because they're all going up towards the anthem bit. But
Please, Putin parade.
Putin parade, sorry. So, yeah, but saying that, I mean, when other people like Lazenby and Durista have done the grid walk, it's better than when Martin Brundle does it.
Possibly. They get different ones, don't they? They seem to have a slightly different.
So I think there's like who's the blonde lady that's there?
Rachel Brooks?
Yeah. See, she seems a bit superfluous to the whole situation. I don't particularly dislike her. You know, she's a perfectly fine broadcaster. But you do sometimes wonder, like, why are you there? Why wouldn't that be Lazenby or somebody else? Or get rid of Lazenby and just have her? I think there's every time you go somewhere, there's two different people stood there.
There seems to be like too much of a squad rotation
Yeah.
going on.
So if you just had a smaller broadcast team and then you had like a professional driver and you either had Anthony Davidson, Paul Durista, Jenson Button, Nico Rosberg.
I guess the problem with that, with Button, Duresta and Davidson, they all still drive.
Oh no, that's
So
why you just have one of them at a time. You know,
Yeah.
just to condense it a bit and focus the show a little bit. It just seems so crazy. I still think like what BBC used to do, where BBC used to take a studio unit with them, didn't they? If I remember rightly.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. See that? I don't understand why that is so difficult. I know all companies are trying to cut costs and stuff, but is it that expensive to send a temporary unit around?
Sky
with your...
have practically a full studio in the paddock, though, don't they? But it's like open air. It's but but they have like a huge setup.
Yeah, you missed that. That was on the extra show that we
Yeah,
did
no,
with Sean before Australia.
But I still think it should be covered. It should be now back to the studio situation, because there's something about just seeing them milling around outside with a couple of microphones that seems messy. The whole production feels messy.
Yeah, I think it's sort of wanting to show that they are part of the action. But the worst thing by a long way that Sky have done is that bloody virtual studio.
Oh, the thing that Karun Chandok was doing during qualifying.
Karun Chandok explaining the difference in the aero regs for this year compared to the aero that teams were running last year, with some of the worst CGI that I have seen since Euro truck racing on the Amiga.
Nice.
I think, was he trying to explain how a car can run upside down in the tunnel? Was
Yeah.
that what he was doing?
Because with the aero, it adds the weight of 2 London black cabs to the car.
Yeah.
With then 2 of the worst CGI'd London black cabs
Just
being dumped
stacked
on top of
of each
car.
other. Well, he was just like stood on the track. It was very bizarre.
I don't get it. It's strange. I think Sky's strange. It's a strange company now. It's hemorrhaging viewers. It's hemorrhaging viewers for everything.
Well, they're losing a lot of the rights to various sports because, I mean, when Sky launched the 5th sports channel, that was the home of European football. Mm-hmm. They don't have any European football left.
Yeah, they've lost Italian. They've lost Spanish. Do they still have... No, they don't have Dutch anymore,
No,
do they?
they've lost the Dutch league.
I think they have a couple of cups, don't they? And that's about it.
Yeah, I think the closest they've got to Europe, the only other European football league they've got now is the Republic of Ireland.
Ah.
I think the big one for Sky, I know none of this is really Formula One related, but I think it'll knock on Formula One, as time dribbles on. But as of next year, WWE is on BT Sport. They've lost the rights to WWE. 32 years Sky have had the rights to WWE.
Wow.
Bloody hell, I didn't know
Jesus.
Yeah. And I only found out their ratings for WWE had dropped to like 53,000.
Sky are going to be left with Premier League football
And that's about it.
and F1.
Yeah, because they binned off tennis last year, which I think is quite a niche thing. But it was something like, to keep the tennis, if they would have had to have paid less than they pay for one Premier League fixture.
So
Anyway.
we might be getting F1 TV in the UK before we know it.
Just hopefully it'll
Although
actually
what the
work
production
over
will
here.
be, because there won't be a Sky to work with F1, maybe BT will take it on.
Do they do all of... I mean, you won't get it's the commentary they give them, isn't it? Because everything else is the world feed, which is Formula One itself.
They get the commentary. They get a lot of the other feature shows as well.
Right, because the only thing I've ever seen of F1 TV is the build up is your man, isn't it?
Will Buxton.
Will Buxton, yeah, and he does all the post race and stuff on his own.
With Jolyon Palmer, I think. Does he turn up occasionally?
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been there with them a few times.
Just for anyone that isn't watching that, because it's on YouTube the day after. If you don't have the channel, if you're missing Ted's Notebook,
It's live on Twitter as well.
Yeah, they stream it somewhere.
If you're missing Ted Kravitz, his post race show is as good as the Notebook. That you're gonna, if you can't have a Notebook, it's a good show.
Handy tip. Talking of more races and the situation that things are going to be in next season, Hockenheim are saying they're close to getting a deal for next year. Now, that is one of the races whose contract is up at the end of this season, because they signed a 1-year deal last year to keep the race there, because we've been getting the German Grand Prix in alternate years recently since the Nürburgring started running out of money. It's not looking good for Silverstone at the moment because of that, is it?
It's not looking good for Silverstone.
No, I think we'd assumed that was one of the ones that was going, hadn't we, Germany?
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be Germany and Mexico that were on the way out, because 2 races had to be dropped to accommodate Vietnam and Holland. The Netherlands.
The only thing to think is, with the Hockenheim thing, is the owner of Hockenheim's already said that Formula One needs a German Grand Prix if Mick Schumacher comes into Formula One. Now, I would suggest that that's not just... It's right, because if you have a Schumacher back in Formula One, you're going to want a German Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Hockenheim would want to be back in Formula One if you didn't have a Schumacher in.
So you're thinking they wouldn't want to sign something long-term if he ends up being a...
or if he ends up
dud.
not being there.
Yeah.
You know, it's the we've seen that Germans don't care about Sebastian Vettel, which is really weird because he was really successful.
Yeah.
It's not like they've got
I want to say,
Hulken.
he's never won the German Grand Prix, I don't think.
No,
has
he's
he, Vettel?
rubbish at it. He crashed last year.
He
didn't
did.
Slowest crash of the season.
But
Yeah.
I think preceding last year's crash, I don't think he's ever particularly shone there.
Well, Schumacher didn't either, did they? Until they changed it, so he was good at it.
He was partially responsible for the redesign.
Yeah, because he wasn't very good at the
Yeah.
old one. Thanks,
Actually,
Michael.
he was partially responsible for the redesign of Hockenheim and Nürburgring.
I really miss the old Hockenheim.
I think everyone does.
I think it's not just a shame that it's gone. It's a shame that it wasn't even maintained.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just literally been taken back by nature now. It's a shame.
You can see still.
You can see
where
like the outline of
line-
it, but you couldn't go
Yeah,
and
it's like
drive on
fucking
it.
I Am Legend out there.
So yeah, if Mexico are saying that they have something in place to sign a new contract.
I could fucking leave Mexico. I'll put that out there. I hate the circuit.
It was good. It was good for Formula E,
Yeah.
which, by dint of it being good for Formula E, means it's not really great for Formula One.
No.
But yeah, Silverstone is looking very patchy for next year at the moment because they can't increase from 21 races next year. That is signed and
I
sealed.
think they can agree though, can't they? If they all agree to it, they can.
Yeah, I think it would take, but as things stand, the agreement is that there will, and it was all 10 teams that said maximum of 21 races for 2020.
Yeah, but
I guess it would depend what race it is that would be 22. If it was Silverstone, maybe they would all agree. There's a lot of British teams.
yeah, they're all very close. So I think I think you'd get away with that.
Mm-hmm. If the 22nd race was Mexico, maybe less so. Particularly like Haas.
And if it's only
an
one
engine
race as well, if
weird
it's
team.
only one race, what fucking harm is it? Do you know what I mean? If they've got 1 year to squeeze it in before they sign a new Concord agreement, why would you risk, if you were any team that's close to Silverstone, why would you risk losing Silverstone for the sake of not racing there for 1 year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure, especially with Ross Brawn being sort of on the panel as well.
Deals can probably be done somehow.
Yeah, you would have thought. The last thing we've got is something that has actually just come up in the last day or so, which is Renault and Fiat Chrysler are on the verge of merging.
This is weird, and I don't quite know what it's going to mean for Formula One.
It's going to mean that the new massive mega company will have 3 different brands on the grid.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to stop them all having the same owner but operating as separate brands. So Renault could still be an engine Renault Sport could still be an engine manufacturer in its own right, but it does for things like voting and agreeing on things. You've suddenly got then a lot of teams that have a shared interest.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be 30% of the grid having one vote. Even if Ferrari lose the veto, that's nearly half of it.
Yeah, but then you've got like Renault customers, you've got Ferrari customers as well,
and there's a serious danger of leaving Mercedes and Honda and their customers sort of at the mercy of this new megacorp.
Well, I was just going to say, do you think it's kind of the way the world's going as well, isn't it? Like, you are getting more and more companies that are getting swallowed up by a big corporate entity.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a presence in each different country and each different market, and sometimes it's easier to buy something that's always already successful there than to set up your own thing and compete with what's already working there.
Yeah.
So if the Fiat Chrysler Group wants the French market, just buy
Renault.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on over the next few weeks.
It'd be interesting to see what the sort of competition regulations are on that, because when you get 2 big companies merging, there's usually some kind of regulation looking at whether that then becomes unfair in terms of the size of it. We had that with Sky recently when they were being linked with the purchase I think, was it Fox was meant to be
Yeah,
buying Sky,
Fox.
and that was like, no, too big. You can't do that.
Yeah, Fox, then Disney, and then Comcast ended up owning it.
Yeah.
And it was the third attempt at somebody buying them out that got approved.
Yeah.
But yeah, this could prove to be interesting, and with Renault's history of leaving Formula One, they might stay in Formula One but paint the cars red and yellow.
Yeah, it's there's something weird there.
Yeah. Shall we shunt it?
Why not?
I think we should. Have you got one all sorted?
Oh yeah.
I believe you've got a bit of a backlog at the minute.
Yeah, it's ever since I gamified it by telling people to try and to message me to remind it. Yeah.
The added incentive.
Rune, who did last week's shunt,
Yeah.
said you misread the first clue. It was I wasn't born. I wasn't born.
I know. I spoke to you in the tweet about it. I said I don't care then.
I was clarifying this for everybody else that was listening. Whose is this week's from?
I can't see his proper Twitter name, but his like the name bit at the top is Voice of the Drunken People.
Oh, good.
Oh, my
This
God.
bodes well. Get comfy.
So, at Karaoke Singer,
Yeah. I was born
back on normal ground.
1971.
Okay.
Right.
I became famous in F1.
As did most F1 drivers.
General. Well, we don't know that it's an F1 driver yet. We've not got that far.
That is true.
Do you know what? I love this guy, and I'll explain to you afterwards because it might be a hint. Not the person whose shunt it is. The shunter. I love him. Thank you very much.
The shunter, not the shuntist.
Yes.
Okay.
I set track records in NASCAR, but low speed. Sorry, hang on. I haven't got my glasses either. I set a track record in my NASCAR debut at Lowe's Speedway, wooing rivals and critics by making headlines like "Frenchie can drive."
Oh. So it might be a person of French origin. Are you looking for your glasses?
Yeah.
They're
The
behind the other
the
one.
behind the Mac.
Yes.
It's a sort of bitter circle, isn't it? When you haven't got the glasses on, you can't see where the glasses are because you haven't got them on.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna throw.
So 49-year-old French or
48.
48-year-old French.
Yeah, younger than me. Right. I am gonna go a little bit left field on this one. Sacha Baron Cohen's character in Talladega Nights: The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
Jesus Christ!
I think he was French. They made out that his character in that was an F1 driver that moved to NASCAR
Interesting.
and was being called Frenchie.
That is a specialist suggestion, but I don't.
Can't remember the name, but I'm throwing a tentative guess out there
Okay.
of Sacha Baron Cohen's character in Talladega Nights.
I do not have a better suggestion, so I will go with that.
I'm a big fan of jazz music.
Okay.
Jazz flute in particular. This is Will Ferrell.
Interesting.
My brother-in-law is a famous hip-hop artist.
Whoa.
That's random.
The only French hip hop artist I can name, if the Frenchness is staying in the family, is DJ Shadow.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a French person
that is
that's
true.
married into a family.
That is
It
true,
could be
but I just
anyone.
wanted to say that I know a French hip hop artist. I'm
Okay.
dead with it, me.
I was the star of a NASCAR video game. I would like a guess, please.
I only know of one NASCAR video.
Yeah, I
game.
mean, you pay much more attention to both video games and NASCAR
There's
than
been
myself.
a load
so-
of NASCAR video games.
Yeah, but I only know of one NASCAR video game, and that was from about 1984. It was me mate had it on his Commodore 64.
Oh, NASCAR Heat came out. That was supposed to be quite good. The last one. NASCAR really is the cricket of motorsport, isn't it?
Well, it lasts forever.
Yeah, no, but some people fucking love it, and then everybody else just looks at it and goes like, "What are you doing with your life?"
Yeah. I feel this is not going to be one that I know,
Yeah.
regardless of what other clues come at me.
I'm going to... Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's bound to have a NASCAR video game.
Why not?
He was commentating on the Indy last night.
He was.
I caused one of the worst accidents in NASCAR history.
For it to be one of the worst accidents in
gonna
NASCAR
say-
history,
Bad is good, is it not?
that must involve at least 60 cars.
Mm.
Because when NASCAR has a crash, it looks like the last 20 minutes of the Blues Brothers. Yeah, keep going.
No, my NASCAR knowledge is very minimal.
I am openly gay.
It is. I can't remember the character's name, but it's the one that Will Ferrell played in Talladega Nights.
You do realise that homosexuals are real people as well.
Yes,
All right, okay.
but his character in that was openly gay.
Was he?
Yeah, and that's why
I've never seen it.
and that's why NASCAR hated him.
That makes maybe sense.
See, I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
No, I've never seen it.
I'm unemployed at the moment. I've earned my 75% complete Netflix badge. I'm nearly onto the Korean section.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
I am desperately hanging on for the new series of Black Mirror next week.
Sorry. I made the mistake of opening and I made the mistake of opening my messages, and I'm going to tell you now because you're going to find it funny. A certain drummer on the Isle of Man is doing a drum clinic. And my friend who's a bass player just turned around and said, "Do you fucking fancy this? I will pay for you." I once lost a race, but I once lost a race by a glove and was disqualified later, giving one driver his first career win. I don't even understand that, and I read it right.
I think you have to watch the film to know what that means, and I think I do, and I think it is.
My 2 life goals are to raise a Komodo dragon in Sri Lanka and to be beaten by the only driver in the world who is better than me, if he indeed exists.
Yeah, I'm still...
That's number 10.
That's number
I
10.
need a guess.
Right, I can't remember the character's name.
That is no good for this quiz.
No, but it was the character played by Sacha Baron Cohen in...
Are you sure? Because you've been saying Will Ferrell for the last few
That
clues.
was a
If
joke that Jazz played.
if it is indeed this character, I would, because Sacha Baron Cohen is nowhere on this.
Right.
I want at least a name.
I can't... It's been a long time since I've seen that film. And I can't remember the character's name, but he was in Talladega Nights, and
I can't accept it.
I think we need to put this to a Twitter vote.
No, because it's my quiz. I can't accept it. I want a name. I want a name of the guy.
Oh, Frenchie.
He didn't win. Cody Piscatelli.
I still don't know if that's what you're saying or
I
not.
have no idea. I am going to have to do some Googling.
Oh no, sorry. Hang on. What?
Oh. Oh, what's happening here? There is confused expressions.
Was that his name?
Cody Piscatelli is the guy that sent
sorry,
the quiz
that's
in.
it. Yeah. You know, Gene. You might be still right though. Gene Gerard.
This feels like an anticlimax to the quiz.
Does feel like an anticlimax.
Maybe it on Google.
What was nice is that he spelt his surname phonetically for me.
It was Sacha Baron Cohen's character in Talladega
You
Nights.
might as well have the points.
I'm gonna say that's as close as I can get.
Yeah.
Thank you for that one, Cody. Yeah, I know that is now he regular tweetist and Instagrammist.
Cheers, matey.
So how do you get a total shunt in?
Tweet me at Total Shunt. Do it in a little message, and I'll do it.
And if you want to get a hold of the rest of us, you can get our show account at 3 Legs 4 Wheels.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get us individually, I am at Pablo100.
I'm at Sean Cowper.
Chris is at Flood21. Dan is at Dan Dankleton on a bike.
Yeah.
Old school types can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. And just got a plug in now for the extra Patreon show. If you subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/3legs4wheels, sign up from as little as $1 a month, you get an extra podcast, which we did tonight, about various things, and a couple of exclusives as well, because we did mention an exclusive, something for our patrons, what they are going to get first, which is different to the other thing that the patrons are going to get first next week.
Yes.
There's one last thing to do, and Lee, you have to do that putting a marker on trick, what I taught you earlier.
Marker trick.
Because I'm doing the Formula Lee as a drop-in.
Yep.
And here indeed it is. Although it's a bit of a tricky one this week because we didn't get all the Xbox times in. So if you play on Xbox One and you want to send your time through to us to get on here, if you're not in the top 20, please let me know and I can adjust it on the website. In the meantime, though, it was Monaco in the dry in a Red Bull. And the top 20 times were, starting with 20th place with a time of 1:11.080, Brooks de Geer. 19th was Ross Barrow. 18th, Ken Lauderbach. 17th was Josh McCarthy. 16th was Joe Marsh. 15th was Weitzer Camping. 14th, Marcel Streak. 13th was Nicholas Newlin. 12th was Ryan Lauderbach. 11th, James Holman. On to the top 10. 10th place with a time of 1:10.067 was Rob McLowan. In 9th was Adam Smith. 8th was Kyle Armstrong. 7th was Alberto Roldan. 6th was Michael J. Kello. 5th was Julian McMahon Hyde. 4th, Ben Raguska. And the top 3. 3rd place with 109.470 was Alessandro Popolani. In 2nd place with 108.945 was Ricky Worrell. And winning again with a time of 108.578 was Chris Olby. Need a challenge for Canada. And this one is going to be in the dry. And I think we need something Canadian appropriate for the Montreal Challenge. And, well, seeing as they speak French in Canada, we're going to do it in a Renault. So you've got until the Monday after the Canadian Grand Prix to get your times into us. You know how to do that. And finish the drop-in now. Back with another jump cut. I'll sort it out.
Yeah.
We know it's near the end.
We know it's near the end. I'll edit bits of this out, or maybe I won't. I think that about does it for this week.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very, very much for listening. We'll be back next week. Line up TBC. Thank you for standing in at short notice, Sean. Cause
that's all right.
It was a sort of slightly knackered message from Dan this afternoon saying just cycled up a hill. Yeah, we'll be back next week. We will have a preview of Canada and God knows what's going to happen between now and then.
Stuff and that.
Yeah, that'll do. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.